give it a sec, guys, so we can get a build up of people. Yeah.
Right, what I'll do...
Hmm?
I'll share it on here.
Yeah, give it a share, please. Yes, mate, yeah. Can you sit on it as well if you're not comfy?
There is another cushion behind me if you want it.
Thank you. Has it started? Have we got people on now? 4. Okay. Right, so we'll start from there. If you can share, guys, and continually share throughout, or tag people that are on the Truther vibe and looking to elevate their consciousness and know about all of these things, that would be greatly appreciated, because Remi is a very knowledgeable person and has been on what we're on now for quite some time. So do you want to give us a little bit of a background on you and what you're about?
Yeah. I'm commonly known as Remi, and I'd say I first had an idea about law, even though I'd been in court in previous, before I knew.
Speak up a little bit.
Before I knew
Yeah,
this
just a
kind of
little
stuff.
bit.
So yeah, I first got into law when I saw a video of Jordan Maxwell talking about the law of the land and the law of the sea. This was probably about 2000 and early 2000s, and then I started doing research. I was already many years, 20 or 30 years into self-development and knowing thyself. You know, studying psychology, hypnotherapy, after going into lots of different spiritual kind of like religions or philosophies. So yeah, that was my journey. So in about 2008, after coming back off my travels, I've been traveling for 2 years around the world, came back off my travels, and through a mutual friend, met somebody who was into the Freeman. So we had a meeting, there was somebody else there, and there's 3 of us, and we really started talking about the Freeman back in 2008. And that further developed. A lot of people, we did our first Freeman meeting around in 2009, at the early 2009, and it started to attract a lot of people. So Nottingham became a kind of like a interesting centre for people, you know. The Freeman, like Ceylon became part of the group, and lots of other people that you may know in the Freeman scene. So that started there, and so it was just about looking at the information, sharing it, and because people were now getting in contact all over the country, it was fantastic. People were now starting to share things that they tried and were successful with, things they tried and been unsuccessful, trying to analyze why they wasn't successful, and then some people being successful in certain things and other people not getting the same success in the same thing, you see. So it wasn't consistent, but all the while it's about knowing thyself.
Mm-hmm.
This journey is about knowing who you are, and
Who are you?
who am I? Okay, so I am, and that's the ultimate. I am, because I have a feeling of my own existence. Okay, now, so if we're talking, we could say I've got a soul, my soul. You know, we spoke about this earlier, and if we don't get the language right, then we're talking babble. So if I'm talking, I have my soul. Who am I that has a soul? Is it this body talking? Who's talking? Oh, I've got a soul, I've got a body. Who am I that's speaking? From where am I speaking? From what platform am I speaking? Because I've got a bag over there, but I'm not the bag. Yeah, so I've got some shoes on. I'm not the shoes. So if I have something, I can't be that. So if I have a body, I can't be the body. If I have a soul, I can't be soul. So for me, is the spirit soul is who I am, because I am that. And as that, I have a body, I have a vehicle made out of the earth. And that vehicle is called, in this case, it's man. So I am in the form of man temporarily.
Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about the misconceptions of words, where people will say things like, I am my name, and I have a soul, and things like that, how are the elite occultists of this world using language to trip us up? If you had to give if you had to tell somebody that had never heard any of this at all, where would you start?
Well, you've got to understand that English is a made-up language. It's not an ancient language. It's taken pieces from lots of different cultures to make up this language that we speak. So it's kind of dynamic in that way. But everyday English to the legal language may be two different things, you see. So, but even within the everyday English, there's a lot of what people refer to as spells. Okay, so a word could be made up of 2 or even 3 words. And because of the way we pronounce it, we miss those other words. Like, for instance, revenue. We're living in a commercial world, so revenue. And we take that to mean money and revenue, right? But really, it's two parts to that word, and it's revenue. Because that's how it's spelled. It's a revenue. Revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Or when you get out of prison,
Yes.
you get...
You get released. Re is to do again.
Yep.
Lease. So you're on lease. Who's on lease? How can you be free and you're out on lease? Yeah, so that means before one was arrested and taken into bondage and then released, that means you was already out on lease. And you've been warehoused and taken, now you're back out on lease again. Yeah, it's the language. But because we're in a paradigm that we think released is to just be let go, we're not looking at the words. It's commercial. Everything to do with the government or is commercial.
So what about the birth certificate? So when our mothers register us and sign the birth certificate, what happens?
Well, okay,
Just shout it up.
it's like, okay, so there's an esoteric side to it, okay? And
Go all the way in.
there's an esoteric side to it because it's to do with birth and the words capital. So the captain is called the captain because he's in charge of the capital value of the cargo. Okay? And it pulls into port and it docks in the berthing bay. Okay? And the head of the country, the capital of the country is called the capital of the country because it's the center of capital, commerce. Yeah? So the ship comes in and berths at the berthing bay, and the goods are delivered to the port, to the dock. Okay? And a certificate of manifestation is given. Okay? Then it's warehoused. So the mother's giving birth, the birth canal opens, the baby is delivered to the dock, in this term the doctor.
Oh shit.
The doctor, and a certificate of manifestation is given.
Every day's a school day.
So that being said, then they have to get the parents, by creating a law, to think that they have to go and register the child.
The parents.
Yeah.
So, they register the child, and the word register is to do with regis, okay? Which then goes back to the original trust, which was created by Boniface in 13 whatever, Pope Boniface, papal bull. Regis is the crown, okay? So we're registering, registering, yeah? And we're now giving away that name, okay? And unbeknownst to the parents, unbeknownst to them, they're giving away the name that they've given to their child, but they don't know that because it's the deception. So they give that child away. The child grows up for 7 years, and up until the 7 years, you're master, but you've been declared dead at birth, lost at sea, as it were.
Yeah, explain that, the how they've declared us dead from that.
Well, that comes from the Sesticate v Trust Act, okay? So you're declared dead, everybody's declared dead, and you have to, but they don't tell you you're declared dead, because then you could say, no, I'm alive. Okay, so like say, right now, you was to go somewhere and you was just lost, nobody could ever find you. Your family couldn't settle your estate for 7 years. And after 7 years, they could settle your estate because you're now dead. You've been declared dead, lost at sea. Okay? So what the state does, they don't tell us about this, so now we become lost at sea. And then now you've got other laws that kick in, like salvage laws. Because salvation. So they salvage the vessel. Okay? Because now they're not considered a human being, really. It's the vessel. They salvage that vessel, and they start to operate the vessel. But you don't know anything about it because it hasn't, you haven't asked, and you don't know nothing about it.
So where does the Vatican stand on this predicament that you're talking about? What do they believe as far as when you sign the birth certificate? Because what I've looked into is that when we're talking about business, is that the corporation, which is the United Kingdom, not a country, a registered business, owns your name in capital letters, which they try and create joinder, so you then become responsible for whatever they want to put onto that name. But also looking deeper into it, the Vatican, when we go into Old Latin, they are actually claiming ownership of your soul.
Yeah.
And people don't understand how deep that is, because they believe they own not just your body but your soul. Obviously they don't, but they believe that, don't they?
Well, they do own it, in a sense, administratively, because they've made the claim. And an unrebutted claim stands as truth. So they've claimed it, and what one has to do is to send them a notice of rebuttal.
Someone has just asked here, actually, Sky has asked, is there a way we can reclaim our children and void the birth certificate?
Yeah, you can. You have to make the claim, right? So you claim something in an affidavit, a notice, which you send to the Crown, you send to all the agencies involved. Okay, I'm looking at that at the moment in terms of being able to travel without a passport. That is not my property. It's the property of the Crown. So so what I did, okay, back in 2009, July, I did an affidavit notice of understanding and intent and claim of right, in which I sent to Queen Elizabeth for the Crown. I sent to Gordon Brown, the Prime Minister at the time, I sent it to the Home Secretary, can't remember her name. I sent it to Julia Hodson, Jane Todd, head of Julia Hodson, Chief of Police, Nottinghamshire Constabulary at the time, Jane Todd, the head of the City Council, Nottingham. I sent it to all these and a few more to put them on notice. Now, an unrebutted affidavit stands as truth, and it was a 10-page document. Within that, it's a notice of understanding. So within that, I'm putting what my understanding, what my comprehension is of the status of the legalities. Talking about I am, yeah, I don't have a surname, I don't have a title, I just am of a family. But I'm the authorised representative of the all caps name, okay, which is Crown copyright on the birth certificate. So within that, I gave my full understanding what a corporation is, what my standing is as a sovereign being on the land. A corporation cannot give me my rights. So when they read you your rights, they're not talking to the man, the living being, or the woman. They're talking to your legal fiction, the birth certificate name, which in other terms, it could be known as a straw man. It could be known as your vessel, and it's your ship that navigates the sea of commerce. That's what it is. So when one's engaged in commerce or trading or doing business in that arena, then you follow those rules. But in my own personal, private time, I'm not engaged in commerce. That doesn't apply to me. All acts of parliament can only apply to the legal fiction. So the assumption is, because we don't know this stuff, majority of people, that you assume that you are your name. Oh, are you Dave Smith? Yeah, I'm Dave Smith. Yeah? So we're in that mode. But the reality is, you're not Dave Smith. Never was Dave Smith, can't be Dave Smith, and don't even own the name, the intellectual copyright of Dave Smith. You've never claimed it, you just think you are, because that's the paradigm one's been put in. Okay? So once you start to realise, you separate yourself, and that's what I did. I was separating myself, the divine being, to the legal fiction, which is a dead entity, and I'm very much alive. You see? So what these police or any agent of the of Admiralty law is doing is trying to create joinder of the living entity to the fictitious entity by your own choice, because we have free will, and one signature endorses your permission. You're giving them permission to deal with you as a dead entity, as their property, as it were. You see, so you don't give them the joinder. So knowing thyself is knowing that you're not the name. And I'll give you an example, okay? So I was born, I'm in the world, it's a little bit, and my father bestows a name upon me. It doesn't matter whether I was only here a minute, or an hour, or a day. I was here in this world as a being before I received that name. I am that. So I'm before the name. So therefore I can't be a name. But I have a name. I'm commonly known by a name. Okay? Now if I call, what's your name? Are you Mr. John Smith? Are you Mr. Remi? Blah, blah, blah. I will say, well, no. That's not me. That's the name of a straw man, a dead entity. That's Crown copyright. That's not me. That's not my name. I'm commonly known as Remi. Right? What's your surname? Well, I don't have a surname. I don't have a surname. Yeah? I have a family name. But I don't need to talk about the family because they're not involved in this situation. That's not my name. The family name is not my name. I'm a member of the family. I don't own the family. You see what I'm saying? The paradigm. So we're stuck in that paradigm of, that's my family. It's not mine. I don't own it. You see? I'm part of it. So therefore, I'm not here representing the family. I am. So I'm commonly known as Remi. You see, is that?
And so saying that, I mean, I don't want to get onto the role play just yet, but if you can articulate that in a courtroom and know where they're trying to trip you up, then they can't have jurisdiction over you. Hi, Emma.
Hi.
So,
Hello.
Okay.
can you explain what is actually trying to happen in a courtroom if you get taken to court?
Okay, so I'll give an example of what's happened to me in the past. Okay. Being arrested, and
But you know, like the layout and what actually it is.
Okay. Firstly, court is actually the paperwork. Okay, it's the paperwork. The court building and the judge is actually there to ratify an agreement that's already been made on paper. You understand? So you get a notice, a demand for something, and if you don't rebut it, you know, or you conditionally accept it, provided they prove their claim. If you don't do that, then the claim stands as truth, and you owe whatever they're saying and claiming stands. Yeah. So unrebutted, you go look at maxims of law. Unrebutted affidavit, or unrebutted claim, stands as truth. Right. So you get a notice, and they're claiming something. Now, the paperwork's very interesting because there's lots of little boxes on the page. Anything in a box is not technically on the page.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just extra information. It's not actually on the page, and you can question what it means. Like you see a little barcode, you see those little code things, square code things that you have. What information is in there? Right. So therefore, if they don't reveal what's in there, I can't accept it. Firstly, because I don't know what's on it. But they're making a claim, and you conditionally, because it's about, law is really about honour and dishonour, and you have to stay in honour. So therefore, if you don't answer or reply to something, it's deemed to be dishonourable. But because they want to stay in honour, they'll give you a second opportunity and send you another notice after 2 weeks or 7 days, right? And it's your duty now to respond to that. You accept it or decline it. But if you decline it, you don't decline it by saying, no, I don't owe this, and you prove it and create a controversy. I conditionally accept your claim, provided you can prove. And then you set out a list of questions which will satisfy you, legal questions that you're entitled to ask. You know, proving the accounting that I owe you, prove that I'm the straw man, prove that blah blah blah. You set a list, and if they can't answer that, then their claim falls apart. It's an empty claim. Yeah, the one that makes the claim.
And when you talk about the boxes on the paper being separate to the actual documentation itself, what about the boxes in the layout of the courtroom?
It's the same thing. They're not in court. You see, they're not really in court.
So if they put you in,
You're in the court. You're in the courtroom. You're in the courtroom. You're not in court. The court's the paperwork.
So am I right?
So what I'm saying is that the situation's already been established. Yeah. The paperwork's already. You've got an agreement in the paperwork. Yeah. They've made a charge. You've rebutted it, or you've asked them to prove their claim. They haven't proved it. You've sent them another opportunity to prove it. They haven't done it. You've put an estoppel on them because they haven't proved their claim. So you've been honourable. So now they're taking you to court still. They're in dishonour. You turn up to the court as a representative of the straw man, and the judge has to go by your way because they've agreed according to the law, according to the Acts of Parliaments and statutes.
So, to my understanding, when we talk about the layout of a courtroom, so the page that is the courtroom, is that a trust that is being set up for your legal fiction, and the judge is there as the trustee of your legal fiction, and what the prosecution and the attorney is trying to do is turn you over and swap places with the judge and become the trustee of that name.
Yeah.
And as soon as you do that, Mr. Judgeman gets paid.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. They're trying to make you the trustee, but you're the beneficiary.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they have a fiduciary responsibility to do the correct thing. And you know what I mean? It's their fiduciary responsibility. So, but for me, I don't want it to get to that stage.
Mm.
I don't want it to be there. I want to be... You see, look, they want joinder. That's the first. They can't proceed any further until they've got joinder. That means you've got to admit that that name is you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not your name. So I'll give you an example. So I was taken to court and the judge says, give your name to the court. And I say, well, I'm here to help you. You know, but I'm commonly known as Remi. And the judge got upset. Stop wasting court time and give your full name to the court. And I'm saying, well, listen, are you asking for the birth certificate name? Is that what you're asking for? And he says, yes. So I said, with all due respect, that's Crown copyright. That's the property of the Crown. It's not my name. Are you asking me to perjure myself here today? So what's happening here is that I'm kind of now taking control of the court. Yeah? One paradigm is, he's my master, he's the judge, he can send me to jail. Yeah? He's so powerful. But really, he's just a referee. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to put me into their jurisdiction, because that's the only way they can extract my energy, in the form of money. Okay? But I'm blocking him. He needs me to say the birth certificate name as that's me. You see, but I already know that it's not me, and I know that it's the property of the Crown because it's Crown copyright. So I'm saying to him, I'm me. You know, he says, well, we need to know who you are. And I'm saying, well, I'm actually not Remi. You know, I'm actually just commonly known as Remi. You see? I'm commonly known as Remi. That means if I'm commonly known as something, it doesn't mean that I'm that Remi. Mm. So I'm only commonly known as Remi. Well, we need to know who you are. And he's getting agitated. So my thing is, well, I'm me. I am me. And not only am I me, it's my claim. I can prove it.
Here I am.
Yeah. So he can't get joined her. Mm. So now I'm saying to him, Your Honour, because I'm staying in honour, right? I'm not fighting with him. I'm not here to argue with him. Your Honour, I'm accepting him as an honourable individual. Your Honour, as far as I'm concerned, I've been kidnapped off the street by people in costumes. Okay? And they are trying to enforce an act. I don't want to be in their act, in their play. Mm. Right? And they've brought me here against my will. And I need to ask questions why I'm here. Is that okay? So he has to let me. So he says yes. And the first question, and when you do your paperwork, usually it's a 3-part process to deal with things. You send them your claim or rebuttal, you give them an opportunity to cure, you give them an estoppel. Right? So I'm asking him I've got 3 questions for him. Mm-hmm. The first question is, who are you? Who are you? Who's asking me all these questions? And then he said, I'm Judge so-and-so. So I'm saying, Your Honour, that word judge, that's a legal fiction, isn't it? He said, yes. And no, I said it's a legal title. He said, yes. It represents a legal fiction. Yes. I said, "Sir, Your Honour, you're here representing a fiction, and I'm here as the divine being, living man put here by the Most High. Your Honour, do you consider yourself my king or my master in any way?" He said, "No." "Your Honour, I understand that this court is a corporation registered and trading, and I've seen your details on Dun and Bradstreet. Can you produce a contract with my wet ink signature, an authorised member of your organisation's wet ink signature on a contract to say I've handed over authority of my good self to you?" "No." "Your Honour, you have no jurisdiction over me. You have to let me go now." At that point, it was get in the dock. So now I've made my... If he was boxing, he's against the ropes. He's got nowhere to go. Yeah, he can't get joined. I've shut him down. So he's now giving me an attack. He's coming on to the attack. Because now he's testing me. Because he's the judge. But that spell's broken down because I have no fear of him. He's just another guy. Yeah? Get in the dock. I said, "Your Honour, you're not listening to me. The dock is for ships and vessels. The birth certificate name is the vessel. I am not here as that. I'm here as the divine being put here by the Most High. Well, we need to know where you live." "Well, I live in my body. This is my allotted earth where I live." You see? So, and I can prove it. So he's got nowhere to go. And I said, and I think at one point I said, "Your Honour, no disrespect to you, but I just consider you as another man trying to cause me harm and loss, representing a fiction and a dead entity. And a dead entity cannot have authority over the living. Really, you can't even hear me, because the dead cannot hear the living, right? So this is the principle, because the maxims of law is all actually based on the Bible. Okay, so it's based on spiritual principles. Nothing created by man is superior to man and has authority over man unless you give it authority. Nothing created by the Most High has authority over the Most High. Because if I'm over the Most High, then I'm higher than the Most High. And that's impossible. So nothing created by God has authority over God. So God, the Most High, is the only thing I serve. I am that. And when I say I am that, that means I have an existence, I have an awareness of my own existence. So that's my I amness. I am. Knowing thyself is I am. And as I am, I find myself in this form, in a body.
Just watch that camera.
Yeah, so I have this body.
The phone's going in front of him.
Oh,
So I have this body, and I am, the consciousness that I am, is animating this piece of earth. That's my position. So therefore, nothing made by man, no rules or nothing can have authority over I am, unless I give it authority. So the deceptions in the words and the spells, and we've been fooled and hypnotized into giving our authority away through deceptive means. Yeah, by juggling the words in a particular way and creating an alternative paradise, the matrix, as it were. You see?
This is Morpheus, everybody. So, using the knowledge that you have come across, how do we get out of the situation that humankind is in right now? If we could get enough people to overstand what they are doing and to understand the reality of the words and how to use them correctly. How do we use that to get out of this? It's a big question, but if we all just knew what you know, if everybody knew it, then wouldn't that in itself mean that they have zero power over us?
Yeah, they only have the only power that anybody has over another is the power that one person gives them. So we're empowering every corporation just by being consumers. Yeah, we're consuming. Okay, so in these movies, they tell us what they're doing because spiritually they have to, because it's a spiritual injunction. They've got to tell you because it's your free will. You've got to decide for yourself. Just fooling you is not enough. You've got to actually make that decision. Yeah, you've got to choose it for yourself.
And it's
to go
like
down
what
that
you've
road.
said before, that ignorance is no excuse when it comes to the law.
Ignorance is no excuse for anything, right? Okay, I decide. I think I'm an intelligent individual, and I want to cross. I'm going to cross the Amazon. Right? I'm going to go hiking across the Amazon. Do you think I'm going to reach the other end with no knowledge about how forest works and the animals and the poisons and everything that's going on in there? Yeah. I'm not going to make it unless I know the terrain. Yeah, I know the signs. I know what animals are there. You know, I can hear what's stalking me. Predators have the best at camouflage. Yeah, predators have the best camouflage. So, you know, and that's the same in this society. The predators have the best camouflage. You can't see them until they've gripped you. Yeah. So that's it's the same with everything. You got to know the terrain. So you got to know thyself, and you got to know the terrain that you're operating in. So if we're operating on the land, there's a law of the land. Okay. Now if we're operating within, I get a job at Boots. Okay. That's where I used to work with.
Yeah.
I get a job at Boots. Okay. And I've signed an agreement to obey the terms and conditions of my employment and my behaviour while on their premises. That's the law. I've agreed to it. And if I break that, I'll be reprimanded or they let me go. Okay? So, the whole of Admiralty law is like, say, the United Kingdom Corporation. And we're operating within that corporate system, and there's rules that we call Acts of Parliaments and statutes that are only for while you're working for them, using your national insurance number, yeah, your employment number, yeah. But if you're not operating as that, those rules don't bind you. Okay, so when you go home, you clock off and you're going home. You don't have to. You're not on their premises. You don't have to follow. Yeah. So this is the land, and Admiralty law is the law of the sea. It's the law of commerce. It's the law of liquidity. That's why you've got currency. It flows.
The current of the sea.
You've got the sea, the current of the sea, or you've got the river, which has got river banks, and the river banks control the flow of the current. Right? So this is the spells and the magic in the words. It's esoteric. They've done rituals on it. Yeah? So you've got a bank. Where else do you find a bank? On the sides of a river. And what does the bank do? It controls the flow of the current of the water. This is the law of water.
And it's also where you would offload and unload.
Unload and dock. So the inland revenue is coming from the port, from the sea, and it's revenuing inland to tax you, to tax its employees, its property. It's just taking care of its property. It's just business. That's all it all is.
So with the documents that you sent off, which back in 2008, 2009, that I've read through, what's the difference between that and going down the common law route?
Well, it's similar. It's similar. It is the common law route because I'm claiming my right as a common law a common law member of society, I suppose. I'm claiming my rights. And you does not claim their rights as none.
I mean, where I've looked at...
if you're talking about the common law court...
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to go through a common law court because they're just a group of individuals and have no more power than me, individually. Yeah.
So you haven't signed to a baron or anything like that, like what
No,
some
because
people have?
I've only got one master. I can't serve two masters. I got one master, and that's the supreme creative force, the prime mover of all that is.
Mm-hmm.
That we commonly call God.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only master, right? And I am that.
Mm-hmm.
Remi isn't that. I am is. That means that's my sense. I am that is manifesting here is a small spark of the greater I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not separate from it. I am that.
I and I.
I and I.
Mm-hmm.
You see? So once you know yourself and you have to stand firm in that, you're going to get tested. Yeah? So, but that's your centre.
Mm.
And that's the centre of that storm. Everything else is moving around you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I am always constantly... We have to stay, and this is the practice of self-realisation, is that you're trying to realise your true self.
Mm-hmm.
So meditation is important. You're centering yourself, okay? The eye of the storm, everything's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
I could sit here for 3 days. Let's say you open the curtain there, and I just sat here for 3 days. Okay? You could say, well, it's day and night, day and night. I'm observing day and night, and light's changing, right? I'm constantly the same. Everything outside of me is moving.
Mm-hmm.
It's always now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? We name things as yesterday, today, and tomorrow, just to get on in society and have a certain understanding. But in reality, there's no tomorrow. Yesterday don't exist because it's finished and done with. Tomorrow hasn't happened yet, so it don't exist. There's only now. You can only experience anything in the now.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality.
Mm.
And if anybody can prove me wrong, I'd like to hear.
Oh, where do we even go from that?
So basically, it's centering you know thyself. So now, coming back to the law, okay? The judge, his job is to create joinder. The police are there to create joinder because they want to... It's business, so they need to make a profit. They need to make something off a return of their property, or what they consider is their property. But you're denying them that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of other things what we can do. I'm at the moment writing a notice to upgrade my notice of understanding that I did 11 years ago, because I found out so much more since. Okay, so I need to add.
Mm-hmm.
But within that first notice, coming back to the answer, the question about your children. Okay, so when I did that 11 years ago, my youngest daughter's 21 now, and so I put a lot of... She was 10 at the time. Okay, so I put a lot of stuff about my daughter in there, totally claiming total authority of her straw man. Right? Anything to do with legal fiction, I'm the authorised representative of. Right? I take all. I removed all. I think I removed assumption or implied right of ownership or authority over her straw man, as well as my own. You see, so because so when a policeman approaches you for anything, or you get a notice or anything from any agency, they are only operating on assumption. That's all it is. It's an assumption. They're assuming that you are the legal.
Oh, you might need to speak up a little bit, Remi.
You are assuming that they are assuming that you are the legal fiction name, right? So the first thing is this: you have to remove that assumption. Yeah, because a police officer can only deal with the birth certificate name, the straw man, the fictitious entity, which is a dead entity because it's not alive. It's just a name that's owned by the Crown. And so they assume that everybody's ignorant and don't know, because most times people will agree that they are this name, right? But so you remove the assumption. They cannot talk to you and do business with you, because the dead cannot talk to the living. And if they do, what I've had in my notice of understanding was a fee schedule for transgressions from any a government agency, right, who have limited liability. You see, I have no contract with any of them. They can't do business with me. The judge when I was in court, going back to what I was explaining, the judge actually arrested me then in court. They took me down into the police station, tried to establish joinder again, okay, and I simply says, listen, the judge has forced me to be arrested and brought down here. You go and ask him who I am, who he sent here. 5 minutes later, the back door was open, you can go. Okay? So, now, what the fear is with judges is that most people are thinking, he's going to say, I'm going to charge you with contempt. Right? So I don't know how many years contempt can give you, but it's a bit of a serious thing. You're in contempt. Right? Okay, so he hasn't established anything. So I'm happy if he wants to try and press charges of contempt. I'm happy to deal with it. Because I can prove that I'm not in contempt, and that it's the judge that's in contempt of his own rules. Okay? Because he's in contempt. Because contempt means that you're trying to bring the court into disrepute. And I'm not talking, I'm not shouting, I'm behaving civilly and respectfully, I'm calling him your honour, I'm centred in myself at that moment. Yeah? Because if you're sovereign, you have to know how to act as a sovereign in those situations. Yeah? If I'm king and I'm going, you got no presence. You see what I'm saying? I'm not arguing. The master doesn't need to argue with the servant. The master doesn't have to answer the servant's question. The master gives instructions to the servant and he goes and carries it out. And that's the relationship. The government, the police, and all government agencies are service corporations acting as peace officers and government and administrators for the government and the running of the country, right? That's what they are. And they have no authority over the living, yeah, outside of contractual. So they can't contract with the living, so they've created a legal framework of fiction as a vessel and a ship to navigate the sea of commerce. And that's simply it. So once you start to know who you are, you take control of your vessel if you want to do that, and you can operate that in the sea of commerce, but you claim it. You can't own it because it's copyrighted, but you claim the free use of it. And but you as the living being are outside of that. I'm not the ship. Yeah, I become the captain of the ship if I want to operate there. Or what I did in my notice, I claimed to be able to trade freely with other free entities on the land outside of that environment. I claimed to be able to protect myself in all situations, including having firearms or any weapons to protect myself, and I make oath not to attack anybody or cause any harm or loss, except for when my life or anybody in my care's life is in danger or the country's been invaded. You see? I claimed all rights to self-medicate. That means if I want to have any herbs, any mushrooms, or any plant material that grows naturally on this planet, I have the right to do that because it's natural. And no dead entity can tell me that I can't. They've got to rebut all these points, point for point. Otherwise it stands as truth in law.
So let's say you've got a grow on, yeah? You've got 9 cannabis plants or 12, let's say, and they kick your door off because they've seen your electric bills high, or they've flown the chopper over and seen the heat sensors from the UV, and they take away your cannabis and take you to court for the illegal growing of narcotics. How would you word yourself to get out of their claim? If you were
firstly, they can only act on the person again, the legal fiction, because I can grow anything I like, right? And I've already made the claim. But if you hadn't made the claim, okay, which was in the case of a young man that I knew who was caught with 48 plants in a grow, and it took about 12 months before it reached court, Crown Court. And within that time, he was just a young guy, but he was sharp, clever, and he was able to learn his position. And he went into court. He had to defend himself from the dock, which was not good, trying to make everything difficult for him. And in the end, the first thing he said was, quote, Genesis, about your food shall be the flesh of the fruit of the trees, and your medicine shall be the herbs, blah blah blah. Yeah. Well, I'd never. He read that. He spoke that out, and immediately, to my surprise, the judge got up and ran out the court. He ran. He didn't walk quick. He ran. Yeah. So that shows me what he said there was very powerful. Yeah. Now, mind you, he was up for the abuse of possession or the abuse of substance act. So they've got so the question is, what is abuse? You've got to grow on. You're growing the plants that grow naturally on this planet. And, you know, where's the abuse? So within legal terms, the abuse comes into the commercialization of it, the selling of it. Okay? So they've got to prove that he's selling it. But he was able to prove that he was making cannabis oil to cure people of cancer and other ailments. Okay? Because if the government and the hospitals cannot provide a remedy for cancer, they cannot cure this, and people are allowed to self-medicate themselves if you can't provide the service. I do it myself. There's no law says you can't. So there was a jury of 12, and they heard, even though he produced a film, Run from the Cure, I think it was, from that guy from Canada. One of the early films about how cannabis was helping to cure people's cancers and stuff like that. I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, he showed that video. The judge wouldn't allow the video to be seen, but he went through his case and explained it, and ultimately the jury found him not guilty. So he was successful, you see. But all the while he wasn't accepting that he was the legal fiction name. So they was in dishonour. The court actually was in dishonour, and they was acting in dishonour, and they was totally wrong to have him defend his whole case by himself while shut up in a glass box called the dock, as if he's the vessel. He should have been up there at the front, being able to handle his case properly with a Mackenzie friend who's as his assistant.
Yeah.
So they'd make everything as difficult as possible. But so long as you stand, so long as one stands in the truth, in their truth. Yeah. By the way, I want to give a disclaimer. I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm not giving any legal advice. I don't give legal advice.
Probably a queue at the door.
It's information that I've used in my own life.
Sales of hydroponics have gone up.
It's information I use in my own. I've had in my own case when the authorities have tried to transgress against my rights. Knowing who I am and standing in that truth, I've made the claim, and I know myself. Okay, spiritually, physically, legally, I've learnt it. Now, when you're first in court, in the court building, we've already been primed to be hypnotized to be subservient to authority, right? Just from the headmaster, the teacher, the headmaster, the first boss at work. It's always this guy in a suit, and then we know that we've heard about this judge. And he comes in a costume with a wig on, enacting an act. We've got to look at the words. Is enacting an act? Where else do you see an act?
On a stage.
On stage.
On a stage,
yeah.
And on television, right? And what is it? Is it real or is it a fiction?
Fiction.
It's fiction. Even if it's a true story, it's not 100% true. It's all fiction. It's not real. So they're enacting an act, and they're all wearing costumes. giving them names, uniforms and robes, and this. But a robe is a rob. It's a robber. Yeah, it's a reaper. The judge, they're reapers.
Reapers of Saturn.
They're reapers. Yeah. So when the usher's wearing all black, it's paying homage to the dead. Yeah. When you get a degree at university, you wear the same gown, and you've got a square with a circle inside, which all has esoteric meanings. The circle and the square. Everything's a cube. Yeah. The cubes is the top of Saturn, which is Satan, and a hexagon. I'll put a hex on you. You heard that term? I'm going to put a hex on you. You're putting a spell on somebody. They say you put a hex on you, right? Well, it's based on a hexagon. A hexagon, looking from another angle, is a cube, right? It's a three-dimensional cube. So that's Saturn. So everything's cube. We're boxed in. Yeah, that's why people talk about think out the box. Yeah, you get this is all Saturn, Satan cult. You get married, right? You put on a ring. Who's the Lord of the Ring? It's Satan. And the rings of Saturn.
I also heard
Well, no ring.
Yeah, the reality.
Yeah.
And this is all coming from the secret societies and the symbolism that's all around us in plain view.
And I heard something as well about horses and stables to do with marriage. I can't remember. The bridal wear, and oh shit, what was it? Because there was loads of stuff, and I was like, oh shit, I'm glad I ain't married and I ain't getting married. So unlucky, like. But our whole society is backwards. Our whole society on every level has been infiltrated by people that partake in mass demonic rituals. This is something that can be proven over and over again. I can put a Disney film on now and pause it in loads of spaces to prove it itself. So the evidence has been driven into your child's mind right now. Like, have you ever seen the video of Obama's "Yes We Can" chant, and you reverse it and it says "Thank you, Satan"?
Yeah.
Bob the Builder, "Yes we can." Like, they've been telling your children to thank Satan from the fucking get-go. So it's wakey time, people. And
well, I would say that I've been practicing clinical hypnotherapy for 16 years. Okay, so I'm a practitioner helping people to deprogram themselves from fears and phobias and that kind of thing, problems that stem in the mind. Okay, so when I look at mainstream TV, when I look at advertisements, when I look at all these things, I can see the hypnosis, but I can't see all of the subliminal messaging. I know it's there because I know how it works. Okay, so because the whole point of a subliminal message is to bypass your waking consciousness. I've got to put an information into your subconscious mind without your waking consciousness seeing it. Okay, because the waking consciousness can accept or reject. Yeah, it can reject something, but the subconscious mind only accepts everything. So when you see an advertisement campaign, it's the repetition. Repetition goes as a program into the subconscious mind.
Be safe.
Okay.
We need to stay 2 meters apart.
Yes.
We need to do this. Mask. Distance. Get Brexit done. Get Brexit done. Strong and stable. Strong and stable.
And that's it. And they can do that for weeks and months, and they've done it for the whole year. Okay?
Yeah.
When 9/11 happened, well, you have terrorists, we've got to go to war with terrorists, we've got to get the terrorists, and it was going on for a year, right? Trying to get the people to endorse that program, right, as a feeling, yeah? So the nature of hypnosis and subliminal message is that you've got your waking consciousness, which is about 10% of your consciousness, okay? And its nature, it can accept or reject. And then you've got the limin, okay? So that's where the word subliminal, the word is a barrier between your waking consciousness and the subconsciousness, sub being below. So So the subliminal message means it's got to bypass your waking consciousness below the limit into your subconscious mind. Right? And there's various ways you can do it through sound and vision. Through vision, we see, when we're looking at a film, we're seeing 26 frames a second, something like that. So you place information in one frame through the movie or through whatever vision thing that you're playing, video. The waking consciousness won't see it. It'll just see a blip. It won't actually see the picture. Yeah, so it can't see it to reject it. But the subconscious mind doesn't miss a thing. Everything is a recorder. It records everything. In the sound, I could, you know about music, so you know you're a musician, so you do recording, okay? So in the studio, I could speak something in, okay, and then you could speed it up.
Yeah. Right.
You can speed it up. So in real time, I'll just say, obey the government. They're right. They're always right. They're there to look after you. Blah blah blah. Yeah. And then you, the engineer, would speed that up, and maybe you can assign it a note. So now you can't hear it. It's or you could have it going so slow that the whole sentence lasts
forever.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how fast or how slow it goes, your subconscious mind will decipher it.
And also with that, these people are so deep. So there's that aspect. There's the aspect that some words, when you reverse the audio, say something totally different and demonic. If you want to get into the AC/DC thing, right? But forget that. It's in everything. The names of your favourite artists and things like that. P. Diddy backwards is P. Diddy. Like, that means he's quite high up the totem pole as far as slaves to the cabal in the occult realm, if you like. So there's that. They put messages in backwards, they put messages in slowly, they pitch it down, they put it in fast, they do all of that stuff. What they also know is what frequencies can tap into which chakra in the body of energy centers. Now, if you listen to music nowadays, and like, my mum would have said, this music that you're listening to is a load of shit, and it's nothing like music when I was your age. And now I'm saying that about the kids now with their mumble rap bullshit, calling it hip hop, and I'm so defensive of hip hop, right? But when we talk about 808 kick drums, which is what it all is now, it's very rarely somebody gets on a drum kit and goes boom. It's that is the same frequency, and Kanye West exposed this on David Letterman. The same frequency as this chakra. What's it called? Not the root. The next one. Sacral. Sacral chakra. Right, which is your sexual, creative, whatever. Yeah. So, bump, 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 bump. There's going that frequency. It's opening up, right? And then whatever words are put on top of that, or are hidden in the kick drum and sped up, are going directly into your chakras, and they are attacking you on a spiritual level. This is deep from every angle.
Well, yeah, I think so. And also, you've got to understand that these. I noticed something when I went to Cuba. Okay. Cuba wasn't a high-tech place. I came back. It's 2 weeks in Cuba. I came back.
Speak up a bit.
Yeah, sorry. I came back from Cuba, and I felt like tinnitus, like this high-pitched buzzing for that lasted a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. It was intense, and it got more intense every time I walked by one of those the cell tower things. And then the second time the next year I went to Cuba again, and then when I started noticing when I travelled out of a city and come back, I was a bit more sensitive, and it used to make me feel a bit. It took a while before it went into the background, so I got used to it, and it was in the background. And I always wondered what that was. And anyway, one time I was with my daughter's mother, and was walking up Hockley in Nottingham. That's the people up a road towards the city centre, and it was quite a few years ago when in Nottingham every weekend for a period of time, must have been about a month or 6 weeks, there was loads of fighting every weekend in the city centre. Do you remember that? It was just fighting, really aggression. This particular day, it was daytime, afternoon, early afternoon, walking up Hockley, and I felt like I walked through a barrier. You know, Emmanuel House at the bottom, that the hostel place. Just past there, it felt like I walked through an invisible barrier. That made me feel slightly dizzy. So I stopped and I said, "Whoa, what's that?" And my partner felt it. So we kind of stepped back. We must have looked a bit like nutters. We both kind of stepped back. And I was doing a lot of like auric healing at the time and that kind of stuff. So I gradually walked forward, and I could feel a barrier. I could feel like a very faint kind of like energy. So we carried on by the time I got to the top of Hockley, I was feeling kind of a bit dizzy and sick. So I'm leaving here. That evening, it was pure mayhem in town. And not long before that, I'd come across the stuff about Nottingham Home. Have you ever heard of Nottingham Home?
No.
Okay, so apparently, underneath Nottingham, there's lots of caves, as you know.
Yeah.
Right, all sandstone caves. The whole city is just levels and levels of caves with tunnels all off. It's been tunnelled out for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? There's a tunnel from the council house under to the Masonic Lodge. Yeah, and you can go on these tours now of certain parts of the tunnels. Even though if you go on them, you find some places are bricked up. Yeah, you can't go down there. Because Masons, they've been doing rituals down there. Yeah, because there's three parts to the Masons. They've got the three planets is the sun, the moon, and Saturn. They're the three planets that they mainly focus on. And when they do rituals, they have to do them in caves. Okay. So you've got Nottingham Home, and it's a very low frequency hum, but you couldn't detect without ears, but with sound equipment you can. And it's a low frequency, and it does something in our brain that makes your eye twitch, right? And they've noticed that. Now, so that being said, if people are putting out certain specific frequencies from these mobile phone masts, that's not just to do with communications, but there's other stuff in there that's actually putting out different frequencies to irritate us or to make us feel differently. Okay, because
hence
everything
the
is a
5G
frequency.
towers flying up on the first day of lockdown everywhere.
Yeah. So you know, I feel that because I'm really sensitive to lots of stuff, and when you practice meditation and disassociating yourself with the body for decades, you become kind of sensitive to lots of stuff, and you notice stuff that other people won't notice. Say, because I'm actually looking for many years, and you start to see it. You know, just like when I do art, you know, I notice stuff that other people don't notice, because art is all about observation. So you pick up, you refine your skills as an observer. So I notice all these little things. Can I prove it? No. But I do want to, Glenn, self-taught. So he's approached me to go out and do a video, because he's been monitoring the radiation of Nottingham for a good few years, and he wants me to go out with him, which I will do very soon, to discuss the radiation, going near cell towers, see what the levels are, monitoring what it used to be 5 years ago when he started monitoring it.
What
are
it
the
is
levels?
now.
Why is the radiation higher? What are the implications for our biology and our health and well-being? You see, so the attack is coming on all levels. It's psychological. It's really, ultimately, it's a spiritual warfare. It's all spiritual
Yeah.
warfare because we have to decide, we have to choose. You got to choose whether you have a vaccine or you don't have a vaccine. Yeah, so for me, what I'm doing, I'm interested in my sovereignty. Who am I? Okay, so I found out that information. Now I've got to live it. Right? So you got to live it to manifest it. So if you don't live it and it's just words and it's just information, that's all it is. So it becomes real and powerful when you live it. You see what I'm saying? So if we want to come out and know who you are and be in yourself, you have to practice meditation and going into the real self and understand what the real self is. I can't tell you who you are, but I can help you to find out for yourself.
Yeah, and
I can tell you what you're not.
People approach these subjects from a really diplomatic angle, as far as trying to get through to people that are on different levels of understanding. I can't be arsed with that. I will say for a fact that on numerous occasions I've been in predicaments which I could not escape from, and I have just stood there and channeled what I want to happen and then pushed it out, and it's happened how I wanted it to be. I've been stood there with 25 protesters and 40 police from the territorial squad, and it's looking nasty, and I've got out of that situation just by doing that.
Yeah.
I did the same thing in London when it was getting a bit dodgy last time, and something told me to find Kenny Thwaites and you guys, because me and Algie and Kel was right at the front. And when we got back to Hyde Park, something said, find Kenny. This is after I'd done all of that stuff, when the police were actually getting aggy on the street. And then I turned around to look for Kenny, and we were waiting there for a bit. Didn't see anyone. But that's when the 6 vans went absolutely ape shit.
That's when they'd left Buckingham Palace, wasn't it?
And there was a big, bottles thrown and all sorts of shit. But we'd just done 3.5 to 4 hours worth of peaceful protesting. And when I did that, when I channeled, it was like, help us get the best out of this situation, and please protect me from getting arrested by these bastards. And that was it. In those words, probably in my head. And it worked, and it's worked for me when I've been facing life in jail in foreign countries. It worked.
Because ask and you shall receive.
Exactly.
But the thing is, you thought it, but the asking is the feeling. Right? It's the feeling. You get the feeling is the prayer. The words are evoking a feeling because the body is an instrument of the mind. So the words, if you're sincere, the words invoke the feeling. The feeling is the communication into I am. I am to the universe, right? And I am. You see, so you meant it because you thought it, you felt it. It was sincere,
and you believed that it would work.
You've got no doubt. Because you created the reality.
I feel like I need to mention this book just because it nearly fell over. But when we're talking I am, and we talk about diet and the diet of the people of the past.
So check that part of the word.
Die.
Yeah.
They call it a diet because they want you to die from it.
Yeah.
And all of these things here are healthy foods, and it's going on. It's on a Dr. Sebi vibe. And when we're talking about I am and who we really are as individuals, when they say you are what you eat, kind of is true, because it helps to manifest what they want you to be if you don't know what you're putting in your mouth. And this is what I'm talking about as far as they've got us from every angle. Let's focus on Mr. Billy swinging door, Bill Gates, right? I was trying to avoid saying his name because I know they try and chuck you off. But whilst he's trying to pump nanotech and all these other things into us, and probably an actual virus, he's also buying up, with his mates, 33 million acres of farmland. He's also working with Monsanto to push genetically modified seeds as as legislation and statutes. You have to use these seeds if you're going to be a farmer. Suicide seeds, genetically modified food. They are changing the DNA of people that are consenting to what they want to do. So when we're talking about I am, if you're not in the outer body realm of I am, and you're trapped in the body, you're never going to get out of that body if you consent to what they're doing to it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. But you see, you consent to it because you don't know. And the ignorant do not know what's to be done. And that's why they say knowledge is power. Yeah. So, but there's two kinds of knowledge. Okay, there's two kinds of knowledge. There's a theoretical knowledge, the stuff that you read, and then there's experiential. Right? So the experiential takes you to a deeper understanding of the theoretical. Yeah? Because I could tell you about the beautiful, luscious taste of a mango and write a great poem about it. And you're like, wow, yeah, that's a really good poem, Remi. Right? But do you know the taste of the mango by just reading the poem?
No.
Right, so now when I say, listen, there's a tree down there, right? You take a left at the end of the road, right? There's some ripe mangoes on that tree. Go and pick one. Right? You make the journey, you go and pick that mango, and you eat it. Oh, now I know what he's talking about.
Speak up, you're hypnotising me.
Sorry.
Everyone's falling asleep.
You pick the mango, and then now you know what the poem meant. Yeah? Because now, but you thought you knew what it meant, but you was comparing the taste to maybe a peach or something, and if you've ate both, you know that it's totally different. Right? So until you taste it, you don't really know it. So people can talk about meditation, they can give great this and great that, listen to this meditation tape, but unless you experience it for yourself, you don't know it. Yeah? So I can talk about law and talk about standing up in court because I've been in that arena many times. And I've practicalized it. Okay? In many different situations. I've been in many different situations, so I've tasted lots of things because to me, my journey has been experiential. Theoretical as well, but then I've gone out and tasted it. You know, I've travelled around the world. I've been in difficult situations. I've been in great situations. Yeah? I've been around robbers that try to fleece and strip me. And I've been other people that have invited me to their village in the middle of nowhere. I'm thinking, where am I? I'm there.
Yeah.
And in a forest with these people. And it's been great. And they've looked after me like a king. You see what I'm saying? So you just go with the flow. But I know that I am. And as I am, nobody can harm me. Nobody can harm me. So long as I stay centered in myself. Because I am is everywhere. I am isn't just localized through this body. I am. I am. I am. I am that plant. I am that. Right? But right now, this portion of I am is centered through this body. But I'm not this body. But it's an incredible body to experience this level of consciousness. You see? So, knowing that when you practice meditation, you start to see other dimensions of consciousness, and the field of consciousness, and its contents, and we call that clairvoyancy, and things like that. But it's just accessing. We all can access.
Oh, you might need to just speak up a little bit, Remi.
So
Sorry.
we can all access anything in consciousness. This human form gives us the facility to access everything in consciousness, if we know how. So they call it clairvoyance, and the people run courses on how to increase your sensitivity and all that kind of stuff. There's other things like the military use, called remote viewing. People use different devices like hemisync and binaural beats to make it quicker, right? But it's all aimed at the same thing. The self separating from the body and having a broader view of the nature of reality and the field of consciousness. You see?
And you can tap into that infinite collective consciousness and download information.
Well, no, it sounds like that from that point of view, but in reality you are that.
Yeah.
And you're just looking into yourself.
Yeah.
All the information and everything you need to know is contained in I am. Right? But we've forgotten it. We're suffering from amnesia because we've come into this body and we're like, that's the part of the game of I am, of God. Right? We're God who's forgotten that we're God. Because that's the game. That's the interest. This is all for the Most High's pleasure. But it operates in a dualistic way. This realm operates dualistically. Yeah, so that means it's the opposites. Yeah? Without the opposites, there's no production in this universe. So you got your car, you're going to put, I'm positive, right? I'm a really positive individual, and I'm not even going to connect my car battery to negative. I'm just going to connect it to positive. Yeah? That's how positive I am. Are you going to get production? Are you going to get a completion of the circuit and get power? There's going to be no production, right? A man and a man will not make a baby. A woman and a woman will not make a baby. You need opposites to complete the circuit to create, to have production. Simple as that. And the whole universe, this universe, works in that. So it's a dualistic, up, down, hot, cold. But the infinite consciousness is outside of that. That's all contained in space and time. See? Which we can only experience now. We can't experience it tomorrow. Tomorrow's never going to come because it's always now. Yeah.
So what about the people out there that have... I'm trying to think how to word it now, because so the people that know or have been told, or because they have been blessed with information on how the future is about to unfold well before its actual unfolding.
Well, there's clairvoyance because if you're out of time, you can see everything in this illusory. It's only an illusion, right? And you can make predictions, right? But so this thing we call the future, we're not going into any future, right? You've got a plan. Today's Wednesday. You've got a plan. What you're going to do on Friday. So it's like you're waiting for Friday, right? It's like we look at it like, there's the past, I'm moving into the present, and then going into the future. It sounds great, doesn't it? It's very, very linear, and it sounds great. Is that the reality?
What are you trying to do? We can pause. What
My phone, yeah, if we've got a cable for a 5, don't worry if you haven't.
Not our phone.
Right,
Not
don't worry. Is one in my bag, Emma? Just said, might not be. It's all
Yeah,
right.
so it seems like we're going from the past into the present, into the future. Okay? And that's not the case.
I'm going to hold that one. That's it, yeah.
So that's not the case. But it seems that way. That's how it appears. Okay? Really, the past is finished and done with. Like I just said now. That's already gone. Yeah? Because it's just now. The future is a scenario that we may plan an event to do, but we can only do that event now, right? We can't do something in the future because the future isn't arrived. We plan something that we're going to do in another moment of now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we're not going into the future. This idea that we've planned is coming into the now. We bring into the now.
Okay.
You see it?
Yeah.
Thanks, darling.
because it's outside of me. I can only experience
you.
anything right now.
So, how do we get man? I've already asked this same question, but again, because I'm still trying to put my finger on, how do we stop this new world order agenda? Can it be stopped?
Well, you know, it's for each individual to know themselves. If we're empowering a corporation, right? Corp oration. Again, it's two words, right? Corp, which is a dead thing, and oration, which is to speak. Okay? So that's two words, corporation. It's a dead entity. It's a corpse. So, yeah, so this corpse, what was the question again, sorry?
How do we stop the
What's
new world
happening?
order agenda?
Okay, so we're consuming, right?
Uh-huh.
Every corporation needs to consume. It's like you watch that movie, The Walking Dead. You know, it's been going, I don't know how many series. I saw it at somebody's place, the first series. And what I noticed is that all the dead beings were insatiably hungry. They could not be satisfied. Yeah, they're the walking dead. And a corporation cannot be satisfied. No corporation, they're constantly consuming. They want us to consume because they've got to consume. They're churning out the earth, all the elements, everything out of the earth, making all these crap products and convincing us that we need it. Yeah? Taking our energies, and it's just this cycle. Yeah? Consuming, not being satisfied. Yeah? A lot of people will have the vaccine because, well, I've got to go on holiday, I've got to consume. It's interfering with my consumption. That's really what it is. They don't see it like that, but that's it, you see. So if you boycott, like imagine this, if everybody in the world, or everybody in the West, or even just in England, right, didn't go out for a week and just enjoyed themselves, and boycotted every corporation, and just bought food. Don't go to work, just boycott everything. Don't go out and protest, don't say nothing, no banners, just quietly, just detach. You do that for a week, you do that for 2 weeks. Half these big corporations are struggling, right? They'll get on your side and help you because they need to consume. Yeah? They have to consume the power, and then you show the power of the people, right? But because we're fragmented, we're not getting together to do that because there's one thing that stops that, right? And that one thing is fear. Fear. People are afraid. Anxiety, resentment, jealousy, all these things are related to fear. They're all offsprings and offshoots of fear. But fear not if you know who you are, for you can't even die.
Amen.
Yeah.
You see?
For the look of a better
Right?
word.
Now, if you're talking and you're doing everything from a bodily concept of life, the body's fear. The body's full of fear because it's our animal self. And all animals are afraid. Yeah? Because they have to be a shark.
Fight, flight, freeze.
Fight, flight. Yeah, they've got to be sharp. You know, you see them, the nature programs when, you know, the zebra's going up to drink something. It's looking around, right? It's afraid because that's a great place to get ambushed by the predators. Yeah. Even in the water, you've got the crocodiles sneaking up, trying to pretend that they're a log of wood. See? Yeah, they're designed with just the eyes are out. You see? So everywhere, this place, animals are always afraid. And because that's how the nervous system in the animal body is. But when we become in these human forms and we start to develop ourselves through knowledge, then we can transcend the animal nature and the instinct that takes care of the animals in that world as in their bodies, because they are spirit souls no different to us. It's just that the facilities that their physical form gives them is limited to this, to certain. They have other facilities that's greater than this, you know, like the vision and the sense of hearing, but they need these things to survive in that wild environment. We can say no. Yeah, we can get an urge and override it. Yeah, we have that ability to see in different ways and to communicate and share ideas, you know, and transcend.
Because I feel like, for me, my purpose seems to be trying to get everybody to become solution focused, whilst trying to get myself to become solution focused. And it's not, I'm not going to say it's not possible, because, but like you say, it's everybody's individual I am and everybody's individual journey. But I feel a need to push that urgency onto as many humans as possible right now.
Well, I see what you're saying, and I used to have that feeling many years ago. Okay, and I'd say you got to develop yourself fully first. And once you know yourself, you know everybody. But for the grace of God, go I. Yeah. So when you're helping somebody, it's because you got the empathy of being in that position. How would I feel if I was in that position? How would I want somebody to help me if I was in that situation? So you give them the help. It's not you giving them the help, it's the I am, helping I am.
And that's kind of what my life consists of, the majority of the time.
Yeah.
And always has, in a way. Even when I was young and doing badness, like with on road and stuff, kicking doors off, stealing off drug dealers, doing whatever, I would still leave that situation with my boys and be trying to help them sort their life out. as oxymoronic as that is, like it was like I always felt the urge to be able to help other people, and I could always feel the pain of other people. And right now, it's been an overload of that because of the current situation and the urgency on a global scale of what's going on right now. So 2-3 months ago was when I had to take time off from work, because work was pushing the rhetoric of the government, because essentially it is the government. And that didn't fit with my soul. So I've took time off. I'm going to have to go back soon. I've got to pay my light bill. But over that 3 months, I've refound the I am again. So now I'm like, I'm ready for spiritual war now. But I need the tools to show everybody else. And I think that the sovereignty and going down that route and learning the language and the spells and learning how to break them spells is how we do it. Because I think doing that, and again, let me just promote this book.
Here we are.
Putting a stopper in the bottle of death and the occult
By
Gary of the House of Frown, or however you pronounce it. So, show that one as well.
It might come out backwards on there, though.
Yeah, it won't on that one, it will on that one. But, I mean, Ricardo Shorty, big up my man for getting him on a live stream yesterday. So search for Ricardo Shorty and watch the live stream with Gary, because it was brilliant. And I would actually like to see you and Gary in a conversation and be a fly on the wall, because it would be mad. But when we look at where they come from with these words, it leads you to know what you're talking about. I am. And everything else is a facade. It's not real.
It's not real.
Nothing is real.
No.
Reality is what you say reality is.
Let me show you how it's not real. Okay? So, this body here, okay? This particular body that you're looking at now, but check this out. Check this out. So scientifically, they say that your body changes every 7 years. Some things, your eyes can change every 24 hours, every few hours, the blood changes. This is a food body, okay? It's the earth, and to replenish it and everything taking food from the earth. You see, so this every 7 years you got a completely new body. So the body that was so called that was born is quite obviously not this body. We call it, well, it's grown, right? So that's just a word, but actually it's a totally different body. This body here was never born. There's no atoms or molecules or anything that's in this body. It was in that small little body that appeared in the world 60 years ago. By the way, this is my Earth Day. This is my
This is
my
how
60th
And this is how he's spending it with us.
60th time round the sun, so up here.
Lucky him or lucky us.
But this particular body is like about 4. Yeah? If it's every 7 years. So, because it's regenerating, okay? But the I am, that's the driver here, is the same I am. It hasn't changed. And it's operating right now, in the now. And that's, you know, that's the miracle. Right? So the only thing that's the same from 60 years is the I am, that me. Not the body. The body's changed. And will continue to change until it don't function anymore. And then I'll vacate and leave it. And it will decay and be what it is, which is the earth.
Earth to earth, ashes to ashes,
You
dust
see?
to dust.
So I don't need to worry about that. I don't even need to try and live 1,000 years. If that's to be, if this lasts 1,000 years, what a drag. You know what I mean? I need a new vehicle. I need to get a new vehicle, a light body,
Fresh wheels.
to operate on a different realm. You see? So now, I mean, joking aside, there are different realms, and I've experienced them, and anybody can experience it. You know, that's why people go to India to seek a guru who can train them in a proper way to master themselves and how to navigate higher realms. Okay. Or they go to South America with shaman and to learn to do the similar thing. Okay, there's different techniques from different cultures, right? But it's all dealing with I am. It's not dealing with you as the body, right? So the deception is you are the body in this society. You are the body. You are the vessel, right? And the Catholic Church, Pope Boniface in 13 whatever, create the first trust, the first express trust, where he declared every living being, every living man, property of the papal bull. Okay, and it stands because unless you rebut it, it stands as truth in law. So the whole of Admiralty and the law of the sea really originates from the Vatican. The Vatican is actually just a converted entity from the Roman Empire, yeah, which has come from the Greeks, which is modelled itself off the Greek Empire, right? Because it's all the same thing. They just modified it a little bit, had the same deities, Apollo and Zeus, and all this kind of stuff, and those families, these bloodlines. When you see the red carpet treatment, that's the bloodline going way back to ancient Babylon and all these kind of places. Yeah. Do you know who your great grandfather or grandmother is? Any of them? Because you've got a few of them. Do you know them?
No.
No. These people do. Yeah. You don't know who we are. You don't even know our physical our material physical lineage. We're not passing anything to the next generation, so we don't know nothing. These people pass on all the information to the next generation. You ask the Prince Harry, who is great grandfather, all of them, because you can name them, and he can tell you, he can do his research and tell you who they were and what they did. Yeah. Because these people are obsessed with keeping records. Yeah, but we don't know. We don't even know, some of us don't know our great-grandparents. I don't. I never met any of my grandfathers.
I only knew one of them, and funnily enough was the one that left me this Bible, and I'm not a Bible basher, I'm not a Christian, but it seems quite fitting that you can pull their bullshit laws to pieces just by reading this.
Yes, this is a,
And that's the Old and New Testament.
this is a very powerful book, right? In this system, because there's truths in here, right? So they want you to swear oath in court, right? They'll bring you the Bible, or if you're a Muslim, they bring you a Quran or whatever. Sorry, I thought I'd turned that on.
So good.
Emma, will you just grab that? Sorry, I think I've got a flapjack in my pocket. I think I've got a flapjack in my pocket. Look, I'll come off that. I'll come off that one so it's good. Right, someone is wanting to ask JD,
Sorry,
Josiah.
Alright,
Do you-
just one.
Yeah, do you need to be financially stable to claim your rights?
No,
No.
no you don't. You need to be financially stable if you want to go off grid.
Yeah.
But that's another story. As far as claiming your sovereignty, all you need is enough money to record, post the documentation to the correct places, and the time to study what it is you're actually sending, which is kind of a money thing in a way, because time is money in this bullshit economy.
It's time consuming, isn't it?
So what was the question? Sorry?
That was just, do you need to be financially stable to claim your sovereignty? But what you were talking about was the Bible and taking apart the...
Yeah, so this Bible, right? So the maxims of law, which you can find in Black's Law Dictionary or any legal dictionary, is based on the Bible. So it's good to know this. So when you make oath in court, if you're in court and you're speaking, you make oath, you know, and they hand this to me, yeah, okay, and then you make oath, and then they want to take it away. So no, I'll hold that. I'll hold that. You know what I mean? Because this is the law, right here. Yeah, because your master, yeah, behind you can tell the judge. You can, you know, respectfully, behind you you got your master's coat of arms, right? It's the Queen's coat of arms, right? So that she's backing you up. Yeah, the crown is backing you up. That's what that means, right? It's not just a decoration. And if you want to go into the Queen's coat of arms and what the symbolism means on there, we can in a short while. But that's basically, it's the coat of arms. It's the shield. You see, and there's spells in it. Okay, and that's backing him up because it's behind him. See what I'm saying? So then the Queen has actually swore oath on this, right? To take her office as the Queen, right? So every judge swears an oath on the Bible. Yeah, take oath. Right. So this here is the law. That's it. It's based on this. So if we study this, then we know.
Well, which version?
Well, you can study any version really. Right? King James is the common one that they use. Okay, so that's what the legalities in this country is based on, the King James Bible.
Yeah, that's what that is, the Old and New Testament.
Right. So you can use it. They have to bow to this. Yeah, you quote this. So when the guy who had the grow quoted Genesis, right? I'd never seen a judge run out the court before. It was a new experience for me. He ran out the court. He didn't walk fast.
Vampire.
He ran out of the court.
Burned down.
And then he came back after a short while.
Did he switch?
It
court
switched.
It was?
No, he didn't switch the court. He just came back. So what's happened? What would I have said in that situation? Learning, knowing what I know now. Yeah.
Commandeer the court.
I'd have commandeered the court.
Yeah.
As the captain left the ship, I'm now in charge, and I declare this case null and void or dismissed.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Take control, because as a sovereign here, and so long as I've caused no harm, what's the crime? I've broken no harm. I've broken no crime, or I've made no crime. I've caused nobody any loss. I've harmed nobody, and I've entered into no contracts with the intention of defrauding anybody. Actually, I have nothing to answer. I haven't broken the law. They're the only crimes, right? A statute violation is a corporate violation from the company. I don't work for you. I'm not working for you. I'm not on duty, so I'm not duty bound to perform to a contract that I haven't seen. Where's the contract? You're a corporate body acting as a corporate body, and you can only act upon onto the straw man which I'm the keeper of. I don't own. It's not mine, and I've separated myself from it. You have no jurisdiction over me. Yeah? Can the Boots security approach you in the city centre if you've not been in Boots or done anything in Boots? Or don't even work for Boots? They can't do anything. And the only way they can approach you is if you've been in Boots and they think that you've stolen it. You've stolen something.
While we're on that topic then, just to back up what you're saying, I went into Boots the other day and the guy who was on the doors, now Boots has security on the doors, but whatever, this was in Carlton, he came up and said, whoa, where is your mask? And then I had to go into it. I said, I don't wear one. And he said, have you got a health condition? And I said, you don't have the right to ask me that, first and foremost. Secondly, I have the right not to tell you that. Thirdly, it's actually illegal to want people's medical records. But are you exempt? I just carried on walking. Did he physically touch me and try and remove me? No, he didn't. And the more of you out there that stop falling for this bullshit that they're all telling us to partake in, the better.
That's what I said. So take someone with you that knows.
Yeah.
That, if you don't feel confident, take someone with you that does.
Exactly.
That
And then you'll learn, because all of this stuff that Remi's talking about right now, he's already told me this every time I fucking see him. And I'm still learning, because it's not all stayed in there. So the more I get him to repeat to me, the better. So take someone with you that knows how to deal with the security guards or the police. Like, if someone can be in your ear when you need them to be, if they know. It's like with this book, Think and Grow Rich, yeah? There's a part in that, it's all about manifestation and believing and affirmations and stuff like that. But it talks about Henry Ford, who probably was a bad person with his link to Nazis and stuff. However, he created the however many cylinder engine, the first one, yeah? Yet he had no schooling, he didn't know very much about engines, but he knew the people that did. And right now, what I'm doing here is I'm giving you the person that knows.
I'm not the person that knows. I just know a few things.
Within my reach.
And here we go with the disclaimer again.
Within my reach.
No, but there are many people that do know and are very knowledgeable, and you've got to just associate.
But
with
when we
people.
talk about energy and when you were talking about when you were in town and you could feel that energy of, oh, hold on a minute, right? I have that ability as well, right? And you are somebody who I trust, whose aura I trust. So you're the person that I return to. I've had similar information from many other people.
Yeah.
But you're the one that I return to because I trust your aura. I never fully trust anything. Like, I'm not saying that everything that comes out of your mouth is fact.
Yeah.
However, I feel comfortable to take advice from you. So when I say I'm giving you the person, I'm giving you the person for me that I have met so far on this information. Because I trust what you tell me, and I look into it elsewhere, and it always lines up with what you've said.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because and a lot of people say I've been saying certain things for 30 years to people, just the same thing. The truth is just what it is. It can't change. The I am can't change. The body changes. You know, Nottingham looks different to it looked 50 years ago. It's totally different. 50 years ago, I was 10. It's totally different. Yeah, and a few years before that, it was totally different because you didn't have St. Anne's and you didn't have the Meadows and all those kind of like estates. It was all terrace houses up to then. Yeah, smoky Coronation Street kind of vibe. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Coronation Street comes on the cat and everything. That's how it was.
Yeah.
The whole place, right? So it's totally transformed. It looks different, but the I am that was observing these changes is still the same I am. And I can only experience them now.
You'll be in.
There's only now. Yeah? But we act as if this yesterday and tomorrow, just to get on in society and to be able to like have a certain cognitive like references. But the reality, real, absolute reality is there can't be, the past don't exist. The future don't exist. They're just ideas. Yeah, the past is just now a memory. In your memory, how you remembered it. The other guy, the other person might have remembered it differently. So it doesn't even might match up. Like, for instance, if you look at Emma, your elbow. You look at your elbow from here, right? Emma's elbow. No, stay where you are. Don't even look. Just can you see the right elbow? Can you see it?
No.
Right, I can. But we're both looking at Emma, right? But we're looking from different perspective and position. And there's part of Emma you can't see because it's obscured by this settee there. I can see a bit more, right? But I can't see. If somebody's behind Emma, I can't see Emma's back or the back of her hair. You see? So it's just a limited perspective. So that's what I'm saying. We've all got a little piece of a perspective. So different so through experiential knowledge and keep studying and checking things out, not just if I'm a doctor and I just deal with the toes, I'm a toe doctor. Well, what about the brain? What about the eyes? What about, you know what I mean? It's a bit limited, you know, it's not holistic. So we've got to have a whole, education's got to be a holistic. So know thyself is to educate yourself. Yeah? All knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge.
Yeah.
You see? It's not your knowledge, my knowledge, anything. It's just self-knowledge from the Supreme Self that I am. There's no limit. There's no limit to it. Right?
Still mind blocking.
We can so Jesus is in here, right? Said, do as I do, or walk in my footsteps, do as I do and be as I am. And all things are possible. Yeah?
I am.
I of myself can't do nothing. But if you know me as I am, all things are, you know my Father, and all things are possible. Yeah? Moses went to the mountaintop, who shall I say gave me this? I am that I am. That's the name of God. And do you have your sense of your I amness? Yeah? You've got a sense of your existence, right?
Watch the other camera.
Yeah, go to the other camera. Okay. So you have a sense of your existence, okay? So with that sense of existence, that's your God self. That's the real self, okay? And everything else is our false self. So the best way to control everybody is to program the ego self, the false self, the one that you think you are, the name and all the other things, attachments to it, convince you that that's who you are, and you don't know the real self. It becomes like a cloud over the sun. The sun's always shining, it's always there, but there's clouds over it now, and we are identifying with the cloud. I'm identifying with the name. I'm identifying with the body, right? But everything streams from I am. That's how. So all things are possible. So now the Christ is I am, manifested in the flesh as mankind. So that's why you can do miracles. Jesus said, anything I can do, you can do also. Because it's not Jesus, the man speaking. He said, as myself, I can't do nothing. But if you know me as I am, all things are possible, right? So you know yourself as I am,
and this is
and there's only one I am.
And this is the problem, because people take the stories so literally from the story perspective and not from the perspectives that you just came from.
Yeah.
Like, that you've got people killing each other over which book or whatever that they believe in. And in reality, the messages are in the majority of religions, and it's just picking it apart. It's like when most of the gods of the pagan gods of, let's say, the Vikings or whatever, they don't act. It's not actually like Thor banging a hammer. It's the thunder and the lightning and the positioning of certain planets at certain times and things like that. But that's the kind of trickery that they've put on us within our own language as well, to enslave us and get us to contract things that we don't understand that we're contracting to, because they're giving you one word that actually means something totally different.
Yeah.
So when they're telling you stories of Moses and or Noah and the ark, do they actually mean there was an ark? No, they don't. But I wish there was a book that didn't have the bloody stories in and just said, by the way, did you know I am, and that just means that you are this, that and the other.
Yeah, it has to play it out in a different way, because people are on different levels. And when this was written, I don't know exactly when it was written, but it was compiled in 300, 200 and something by Constantine, Emperor Constantine at the Council
But
of
what's
Nicaea.
it? But
But it's not about this. It's about the wisdom in it. It's about, is this truth in here?
but my problem with
and it plays out through the stories.
yeah, and my problem with the Bible and is that I know that the Pope is a Satanist, and that he's enslaving people's souls all around the world, and that they practice paedophilia and adrenochrome harvesting of children.
Yeah.
Yet they bang this book. So let's say, where did the book come from? And was it an elitist? Was it someone who is part of the global cabal, or the Jesuits, or the Freemasons, or the Illuminati, or the Skull and Bones, or the Bilderbergers, or any of these
Emperor
people?
Constantine was a Roman emperor,
Yeah.
right? So he's got his belief system. But I think he converted to Christianity, but not in heart, but politically.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because it's just politics, because they are who they are.
But who wrote it?
Well, it's supposed to have been written by all the apostles,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Matthew, Mark-
even that is like...
yeah, well, yeah. But I don't really go with that. I'm going with the truth. So by reading truths in the story, and then I read stuff about Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, and that story, and other Vedic stories and other stories, then there's a line of truth that runs through it. Now, is that the truth anyway? Can you know that that's the truth? How do you know it? You've got to taste it yourself. You've got to go and get that mango yourself and peel it and eat it and know the taste. Right? So if Jesus is saying, if that eye be single, your body shall fill with light. He's talking about meditation, right? Go and meditate and see if your body feels right. It's happened to me. You see what I'm saying? It's happened to me, but you got to meditate right. You got to. Meditation is about getting out of your chattery mind and being quiet and still. Totally still. So you're stretching out the end of the last thought to the beginning of the next thought. So that might be a second. And then next time you come to meditate, you stretch it out to get the last 2 seconds without a thought. And over the practice, you stretch it out and you start to have a couple of minutes without a thought. Yeah? Now, thoughts, can you stop the thoughts coming into your head? No, you can't. Right? So what did Jesus say? And what the yogis say and the gurus say is you hold on to no thought. Hold on to no thought. That means you see it, it's an invitation for you to party. Yeah? It's a thought coming. On your outward breath, just breathe it out. Don't hold on to that thought. Don't get into that conversation with that thought. It's just an invitation. So with this practice, but first you do. You get into the conversation, that internal conversation, and then you realise what you're here for. You jump out of it and carry on. Jump out of it and carry on. Observe the thoughts. They become very clear. Yeah? Fear is a thought that taps you on the soul shoulder and wants you to party with it. Yeah? Get thee behind me, fear. Be gone. Yeah? You can't stop it. It's manifesting in the body as a feeling, right? But it's an illusion because it's going to pass. But it wants us to jump into it, and when we jump into that fear, we're not as clear in our minds. We become weaker, right? And it breaks us down. It makes us ill. Yeah. So don't party with fear.
No,
Have
this
no
is
fear.
And this is what I was saying is like when certain things have happened.
I will do, Catherine.
Certain things have had to happen for me to have no fear of death. Now I'm not gonna walk across the road without looking both ways, but I'm not scared of dying because I know what is after that, or I know what isn't after that, which is nothing. So nothing is not after that.
Okay, so what is nothing? What's nothing to you?
Nothing is nothing. There's
Yeah, but what
nothing
is
to
it?
describe.
Right, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Right, but is it conscious?
No.
Well, to me, nothing is not just like that. I am nothing. I am is nothing.
Right.
Right? God is nothing. Because it's not a thing.
Yeah, it's no thing.
It's not physical.
What?
The physical check it out.
Going there.
If you're going to get into it, you see.
Yeah.
The spirit is not a thing. Even down to your thoughts. Your thoughts are not a thing, alright? It's not solid. Right? Everything in this room here was created by an idea, a thought, which wasn't solid. And then it got manifested into the real world as a solid. We manifested it. Right? You thought it, you drew it down, that's the first stage of it being manifested, drew it or wrote it down, and you made it as a plan. You made it, okay? But it started off in the unphysical, in consciousness, in the field of consciousness. So God is not physical. God is not a thing. It's nothing. I am is nothing. But it's not nothing. It's got qualities, right? And its qualities is awareness of the field and the contents of consciousness.
You're right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're totally right.
You check it out. So I'm nothing, experiencing being something, going back to nothing again. Okay? So you're a musician, right? You pluck a guitar, right? And the frequency reaches its peak and wants to come back to its original state of silence. And that's everything in the universe. It's all working on frequency and sound. That's how everything's held together, right? But everything reaches its peak and wants to go back to its original sound, which is the I am nothing state, the beingness, still, right? So when we're in this internal conversation in our minds, that with whoever it is, trying to work something out and having that internal conversation, you become tunnel vision, right? When you enter a room, that's got blasting out music that's it's even louder than your thoughts, you become oppressed with it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when everything's silence, all of a sudden it's vast, yeah. You can see further. So silence is the gold, because you can see everything in the field of consciousness instead of being restricted. So that's why you hold no thought. If you hold a thought, you're restricted into this. If you're silent, you've got a bigger expanded knowing. So knowing is knowing. Believing, you're not quite sure. I believe this based on this amount of information I have.
Yeah.
Right? But when you know, you know. Now some things you don't know how you know. It's just gathered from the field of consciousness. And that's
I keep coming up with new questions, but is there any on there that you need to ask?
Yeah.
Alright, wait, let's say that some people had... okay, sorry. You two carry on a minute while I just...
I forgot where I was going now. Like, I thought of something to say and I thought it's going to spiral.
Right,
so how does,
if you have got any questions, just pop them in now.
So how does this all relate to law?
Please.
To law, you see? This relates to law. How does it relate to law? Because I'm claiming that I am.
How do we connect with Remi?
You're unreachable, aren't you? Are you?
No, I'm
unreachable, untouchable.
Unreachable. I have a YouTube channel called Shifting Paradigms, or Art Remises. I've got two.
Right, we'll pop it on at the end.
I've got another one where I used with a friend called Africa's Better Than Mars.
Oh? Is it?
yeah, you know, Africa's better than Mars. Mars hasn't even got no ear, apparently. They haven't got a tropical forest. I need a forest environment. You know what I mean? You know, so people are wanting to spend billions and billions and trillions to go to convert a desert into a living planet, and we're living on a planet that's alive and well and mashing it up. And they can't fix this planet, so what makes you think they can fix somewhere called Mars? Yeah? It's a fantasy, and it's a Star Trek illusion, and it's just a paradigm that's been implanted through sci-fi, and it's not a reality. Yeah?
Kaylee says you're an amazing soul. Oh,
give thanks. So are you. Everybody is.
What's the... I know there was some questions back at the beginning, so...
Yeah, sometimes
so when we're going into,
carry on.
So ultimately, the truth, when they're talking about the Most High, the truth is it's everything. So it's truth. Truth is King. Truth is God. Love is God. Truth is love. All these things, not man's love, not our idea of this love, right? It's a higher thing. Yeah, we've got bliss. So when you really meditate and you're out the body, you're in a blissful state. That's what they call the bliss. It's above. I feel good and feeling bad. Oh, I feel good and I feel bad. Bliss is a whole different thing. It's outside of space and time.
Here, I'll
Right?
take
You've got to taste it and experience it to know it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how does it relate to law? This is the law of how the universe works. Through duality, and within it, one can, you know, we're living in this world, okay? It's a physical world. It's manifested as a physical thing. And we've got animal bodies. We can transcend these bodies. But these bodies are afraid of trying to survive, you know. And there's clever people around who have understood the nature, our nature of the human animal, right? In an undeveloped state. That means us in an ignorant state, not developed, don't knowing that thyself, thinking that we're all we've been told, right? And through that, we've been implanted with, through hypnosis, a belief system which is false, you know, and making us so busy that we don't even have time and the energy to research it and understand what's really going on, or comprehend, should I say, what's going on. Yeah? So therefore we accept all these people and all these people as our masters and this and that, and we groom that way, and you can't know better. Yeah? And those few bright sparks that notice something different, right? If they get too loud and popular, they get dealt with. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
There's
it's always
too
been
many
like
now.
that.
There's too many now. It's
Well,
got out of
it's
control.
becoming too many.
Yeah.
You see, and especially in these times when we're in the information age and everybody's carrying the whole world library in their pocket. Yeah, we got the world library in our pocket, yeah? And we can use it for knowledge and information and education and development, or we can use it just for entertainment. Yeah, it's our choice. Everything's our choice. And sorry, I'm just receiving, everybody's calling me.
Yeah, let me just
So it's all our choice. We have free will, right? Some people choose to develop themselves and want to know more things, and they're more curious. Other people are not. They just plod along, and it's easier like that. Yeah. So once you understand that as a and you're a predator by nature, you can use that against people. Yeah. You can use psychology against people. You can use hypnosis against people. They're unwary, because if predators have got to have the best. Camouflage.
Yeah, and this is the problem, that when I try and have these conversations with some people, they dismiss it as bullshit, because they can't see themselves ever being mean enough to do that to somebody else. They can't comprehend that people could do that.
Yeah.
Because they would never do it. And so through them not being able to comprehend that other people would do bad things, because maybe they've never experienced someone do something extremely bad, what they've noticed, then it's hard to get them to realise that someone would actually use all of the knowledge of the world to enslave all of the world, or the physical manifestation of the things that are on the physical world. They don't. Why would they do that? Oh, it's impossible. Oh, there's no way that there's a secret societies. Oh, there's no way that they're playing everything out as a big fucking pantomime on the TV. That's impossible. Well, it's not, is it?
Well, the first thing is, I can't really try and convince. I'm not trying to convince anybody. My journey is, right, self-realization. That's self-realization. So it's a very selfish thing. Like, I'm dealing with myself. There's only myself. Right? So I am. Everything else going on around me. I could turn around 360 degrees and the whole universe is going around me. You see what I'm saying? And you could claim the same thing and you'd be right. I couldn't argue with you. See what I mean? Because there's only one I am. And the I am is the centre of all things. From every perspective.
So when my mum was going, you think the whole world revolves around you, don't you? I was
Well, actually.
It does.
Got a point there, Mum.
Because everywhere around you, the whole universe is. Right? So that's that God, the I am is everywhere. There's nowhere I am isn't manifested. From all, so I am is the centre of all things. No matter where it is. Because it's everywhere. Right? Because it's not a thing, but it manifests through everything. And everything comes from I am, from the silence, from the nothing, into something, wants to go back to nothing again. We could call this billions of years or whatever. From the Big Bang to the Big Crunch or whatever, yeah? Created, you pluck make a note, it reaches its peak and it comes back down to nothing. It wants to come back down.
Everything's
to
sine waves, and is it
yes.
Is it synology? I was watching something the other day, and I should have come loaded with the name of the guy, but like he was saying our sine waves are absolutely everything, like, and it's just peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's also part of the duality because it's positive and negative, right? And then between it's the flat line. So the positive has to pass through the nothing from the zero again, and then going to the negative back to zero, and going to the positive back to positive. And we've got the material world. You know what I mean? That's how it works. Everything is atom. They say an atom is 99.9999% empty space, right? And the few bits of particles that is there, right, is not even particles. It's just energies vibrating at different frequencies. Okay, so there's nothing here. We just have the perception, yeah, of different energies that are flowing and creating different fields. And some energies can't pass through another energy because of the field and the programming, yeah, and the belief system that I can't do this, I can't, it's impossible. So it becomes impossible. But if you know me as I am, all things are possible, right? That's what was said. So one has to get into the I am state and be in the I am state and believe and know and have faith that all things can be done.
Well, this is
and
again.
it will be done.
It's like that's what this is about. So in this book, Napoleon Hill, he was employed. I say employed. He was instructed to spend 25 years with the richest people of the world.
Yeah.
To work out the secret.
Yeah.
That's where the book The Secret comes from, is this.
Yeah.
And it's all about manifestation. And when in the chapters where it talks about affirmations and subliminal in yourself to achieve things, it always states I am, not I will be. It's always I am. So it's like, if you want to be a millionaire, it's like I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire. It's printed on the wall, I am a millionaire.
Because
you open the fridge and it says it at the back.
Yeah, because if you're going to be a millionaire, you'll get more I'm going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm always going to be. But if I am now, because you can only be it now, going to be means it's in the future can't exist, so you never arrive in the now. This is about drawing it into the now. From the idea and the feeling and drawing what you want.
So
it's magic.
What I'm trying to organise and I don't know how to organise it, but I will find a way, is a statement of I am free from, or even just I am free, and getting everybody to meditate on it at the same time across the entire world, and then watch their bullshit crumble.
Well, look, I mean, like Muslims, right? In Islam, they pray 5 times a day, right? And they pray all at the same time. Can you imagine the energy of that? Yeah, because they know on some level that's power. Yeah.
So I suppose.
So all that I am consciousness, individual sparks, as one unit. Very powerful. And they've done it before. Like they've had thousands of people meditating in Los Angeles, and the crime went down. Yeah. Stuff like that. Because it's powerful. A lot of Buddhist organisations actually do lots of meditation to combat the negative vibrations in the world. They just do it, you know. So everybody can do it. But in your own individual life, we visualise the state of being that you want to be in. But you've got to feel it. So the words, the affirmations are giving you the feeling, and it's the feeling that creates it in the now. You know, asking you should be given, but we don't know how to ask. It's Lord, I want a car. I need a car. I make it a Mercedes. Yeah, I want a blue Mercedes. You're not feeling it. It's just words. Yeah, you've got to
Visualize it,
Yeah.
be in
And
it.
this is- and this is
I
what
want to
I mean.
have. I want to have this. I'm visualize. Okay. All right. I've got that. Yeah. All right. I'm in this. Yeah. Thank you. Give thanks. Yeah. I've got that now. And you visualize yourself driving.
And
Now, not tomorrow, you do it now.
And on that note, the first time that I probably ever prayed or meditated on something with feeling was when I was in a courtroom facing 25 years in a foreign country and had the judge screaming at me in a foreign language with the most angry face I'd ever seen. I knew nothing about law or the trickery of law. Plus, it was a different language, so it would have made no odds whatsoever to me.
Yeah.
And that is the only time when I really, really prayed, and it worked instantly, because I knew that I wasn't going to be staying in that prison for 25 years. I knew, because if I did get put in there, it would have been because I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was being free from that particular situation and the people that I love.
Yeah.
And I called on ancestors and all sorts in the same prayer, like ones that I knew, but I called on all that, and it went from the judge screaming at me in my face to him then turning on the police, who the case was me versus them, and screaming at them. Just from that point, he looked down and then noticed something on the paperwork, and then turned over and screamed at them. And next minute, I'm on a plane after 3 months or however long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that worked for me. And since then, every time I've been in dire need, it's worked. So, but it's about everyday use and keeping that same energy, which is not something I've mastered yet.
Well, it's just a practice, right? So therefore, if you're going to have an internal conversation, you're giving thanks to the I am. You're asking questions, and then wait for the answer. Right? You just ask a question, and all of a sudden, you'll just know the answer. And if you go and check it out, you'll find it to be true. Because I am knows all things. Yeah? So, remote viewing. I don't know whether anybody's heard of remote viewing.
I've heard of it.
So remote viewing was something that the American government, the CIA, commissioned in the 1970-71, because they found out that after World War II, the spoils of
I'm
war...
going to have to nip to the low, I tried.
Yeah. So they got the spoils of war, and all these. We got the rocket scientists from Germany. Both sides shared them out, and whatever technology and stuff that they shared out as the victors of war, right? So there was a lot of stuff on psychic warfare that the Germans were researching. They were trying to kill people with their minds. They had groups and they was really on it. They were serious. So the Russians had that. The Americans weren't interested in it, and the British, but the Russians took it, and they developed it. And then in the 60s, they had a defector who came to this is how the story goes. Defected and came to America and had all this paperwork about this research and why Americans had been losing information. Yeah. So is this true? So they got a guy who had already been trying to get these kind of projects on the go by the name of Dr. Harold Putnam. Okay, and he's like a physicist, a theoretical physicist or something like that, along with another guy, Dr. Russell Targ, with a psychic artist by the name of Ingo Swann. Okay, so you can check these people out, okay, and it's very interesting because over the period of about 20 years, right to the 90s, they were researching remote viewing and having up to over 80% accuracy. once it started getting developed. So they didn't call it psychic. They wanted to keep it away from psychic and those kind of clairvoyance. They wanted to have it a more scientific. So they called it remote viewing. And they ironed out a procedure. And I think in the early 90s it was declassified. And so a lot of those CIA operatives, agents who were working in that field became out onto Civvy Street and started teaching it as courses. Okay, so there's various courses that one can learn it from. So a lot of people go and learn it now so that they can sell their service to corporations as corporate espionage and seeing what other companies are developing, stuff like that. You can monitor and see if what stock's going to go up or what's falling, so you can make, you know. But they used it really to spy on the opposite side.
JD, have you got a charger for your phone?
For my phone?
Yeah.
Shit, what's it on?
9.
9? Motherfucker, what?
What is
that?
is it a Samsung?
Hold on.
Yeah, so as they where was I? Yeah. So as they started to research it,
You're not trying it.
What's that?
as they started to research it, they started to realise, you know,
Not one of them, is
how it
It
works.
is, yeah. But,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can put it in here.
yeah, plug this one in, because this one will go straight to the power source.
Oh.
So,
Right.
sorry.
Oh dear.
Right.
There we are.
There we go.
Amateurs.
I'm just going to the toilet, not charge this device.
Oh, God.
Just put that. Put your legs through.
Are we on an ad break or what?
That's great. Yeah.
By Gorilla Republic Wear from the House of Gorilla Republic.
Yeah. So
Right, go for it, Remi.
Yeah, back to the remote.
Yeah.
So I did a course a couple of years ago on remote viewing because I've always been interested in this stuff. I've had my own profound experiences of out of body experiences and cultivating that, but through a meditation thing. So I thought, okay, let me try this, you know, remote viewing. And as an artist, you become a very, you know, when you're doing art all the time, and you become very observant. So, you know, I'm looking for shades, shadows. You know, you notice stuff that you didn't notice before you was doing art. So remote viewing is kind of like that. So what's happening? It's making use of all our natural clairvoyant abilities that every one of us have, and it's sharpening it. But the whole point of remote viewing is to prove that it's true. How can you know? So you've got to experiment in it, okay? So now, let's say you're the remote viewer, and I give you a task, okay, to go and remote view something. But I need more than one remote viewer. I need probably 2 or 3 remote viewers. So I engage your services. I know that you're skilled and trained remote viewers, and I give you all the same target. Now, if you're coming up with the same thing, then there's a high percentage chance, probability that that's truth. So, like in practice situations, it was getting high results. Yeah, because how would you know? You don't even know that she's on the target. You just know you're given a code. You're not even given a question of what you're looking at, because it's got to be blind. So you're given a set of a code. So I'm the tasker. I'm giving you the task, right? For myself, I'll write down the question, what I want to know. Right? I get that question, maybe 2 parts to the question. I'd fold it up, put it in an envelope, and seal it. And then on this side, I could put 2 4-digit numbers. Right? All I'm giving you is the digit numbers. I don't give you the questions. You mustn't know. None of you must know. And from that, there's a technique to extract all the information in my question that you need from the field of consciousness.
So that's how.
And you're the observer of the field of consciousness, and the field of consciousness is infinite. But the question takes you right to the answers and downloads the answers straight to you in the form of feelings, images, sounds, smells. You experience everything in the location that you're viewing, and you retrieve the information. You might not even know what it's all about because you haven't given the question, but then whoever analyzes it will know.
So when you were talking about you started to get into that because of creativity and being artistic, yeah?
No, it wasn't like that because I've just always been interested in it. It's just, to me, it's part of the spiritual framework, and I wanted to have a different technique to view the field of consciousness.
Okay. So what I meant was to get at is that if you're a creative person and an artist, and you can notice things that aren't normally there, then you're more likely to be pulled onto that path, maybe.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is when you look at the education system and the school system and how they are depleting creativity more and more and more as time goes on, and jamming in certain topics that have to be covered rather than the individuality and creativity and imagination, because them three things there are the I am.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a good question, right? So just over 100 years ago, the education system wasn't what it is now. Okay, we're operating under the Prussian education system, right? Which is it's not an education; it's an indoctrination. Before that, people would be taught the trivium and the quadrivium, which are systems of critical thinking, right? So say as somebody who's got a rich parents or whatever, and the guy's 12, because the best from 7 you can start teaching your children critical thinking through the trivium and the quadrivium, okay? And by the time they're 12, they've got all the skills to run their dad's estate if he dies. They can run the whole thing because they know how to critically think. Right? So quadrivium, the trivium is
these are things that I'm going to come back and write down.
Yeah, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Yeah, knowing the words and what they mean. Okay. What did I say? Grammar, logic. Is it logical? And can you explain rhetoric? Can you explain what you know, what you've learned? And the quadrivium. So that's the trivium. So tri is 3 things, right? And the quadrivium is 4 things. And this is the classical education, which the rich people in their private schools still get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Classical education. Because the leaders have got to be thinkers. They have to join the dots, and they've got to think critically. Okay. So the quadrivium is, if I can remember properly, it's geometry, music, astrology, and
all the things that we don't learn.
Music.
That kept
You
them.
said music.
Yeah.
Did I say music?
Yeah.
Music, geometry, arithmetic, and what did I say? But anyway, you can go and check it out.
Yeah.
4 things, and you learn those 4 things, and it enables you to be able to think critically and join dots. You see, so the education that we're in is not an education; it's an indoctrination, and it's different levels of training for one particular thing. It's not a holistic education, you know. It's a military, because it's military. We're in a military environment, and military is hierarchical, and it's a need to know. Yeah? So that's why it's compartmentalized and departmentalized. Departmental. Right? Compartmental. Yeah?
And,
So these
and
words.
this is what, because the education system that's in now is actually from the last industrial revolution, which was to train people to be slaves on the factory line and go duh, 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 duh.
It's an insect society.
Now we are about to enter a new industrial revolution of artificial information, like AI technology. So they're gradually using this current climate that they've created for this reason and many others, about to change that to make people compliant with what they need to be doing for their plan within the AI world, the smart world, the smart TV, the smartphone, Alexa, wipe my arse for me. Like, this is what it's going to be like. So, which is total totalitarian control. That's what it is. So if we disconnect from that, if we homeschool our kids, if we research them things what Remi's just spoken about, which I'm going to do because I didn't know that. I thought that before it was even dumber education.
No.
So
The
that's
elites can't teach their children dumb things and then rule the world.
Well, someone's just said the leaders don't want people to have their I ams. They want us dumbed down so they can keep control.
That's right. So they create a training system, right, which is just for one thing.
and that's why when I went to school, it was mad because
Hi, Lindsay.
I
It's
always-
JD and Remi.
I always knew that it wasn't right, and I also started to gain a don't tell me attitude. Like, I know, so don't tell me. You're not in charge of me all the way through. And it wasn't I wasn't being rude, I was being real. Like, don't talk to me like a piece of shit, miss, and expect me to do what you've told me to do. Ask me politely and I'll do it if I want to. That kind of thing, which I got pushed out so quickly when I developed that strength.
Defective unit.
Yeah, you know what they did. You know what my head teacher did to me in, I think it was year 8. It might have been year 7, so it was either 11 or 12. Yeah, sat me in a room in a circle with 12 of my friends, me being the 13th or the 1st, right, and made every single one of them tell me something they didn't like about my personality.
Oh, wow.
And it destroyed me. It was meant to be a restorative practice of stopping me from smacking people that snitched on me. But what it did was it destroyed me. 1 year later, I was smoking shitloads of weed. I was rolling with...
What was your age at that time?
12-ish.
12, okay.
So 1 year later, as I reached my teens, my whole world flipped upside down and I went off on a totally different path to where I would have if they didn't treat me a certain way. And by year 10, I'd been permanently excluded 3 times. How's that possible if it's permanent? From the same school and put on a part-time timetable. Now I would wake up in the morning and go, what the fuck am I getting up to go to school and do 1 lesson of geography? Why am I going to get up that early and walk in the cold to do geography with Mr. Quick, who's got a gimpy leg, so his whole existence is contradictory
Mr.
anyway.
Quick isn't quick.
But why am I going to do that? You know what? I'm not. And you know what? I stopped going to school, completely. I never got 1 letter saying, where are you? For 1.5 years. Not one. The only reason I took my GCSEs is because my mum bribed me with 100 quid because she'd have got fined 120 if I didn't.
So
And I
your
got 2 C's in science and
mum was
failed
20
everything
quid better
else.
off.
So, but they never sent a letter, and that was because they didn't want me there, and they had no grounds to keep excluding me for for minor things.
But these all things are there to suppress those ones that notice something else. Something's not quite right, but I can't pinpoint it. But I know something's not right. I can feel it. Yeah. But you can't pinpoint it because you're 12. You don't know enough. You don't know. So you can only go in on your gut feeling. So the gut feeling is right. You see, because something wasn't right, but you didn't know. You didn't have enough knowledge, and and experience of life. So they notice that and they try to suppress you. They try to use your own peers to suppress you.
Yeah.
They didn't ask them. They didn't ask them after what they don't like about you. They should have then asked you, what do they like about you? Name one thing that they like about you.
To boost you.
Yeah, because the mind likes to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
That's the ego mind. It wants to focus on the negative all the time. It's your fault. You did this. You said this. It was blah, 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 right? But really, okay, so that you're pointing out all my bad parts, you know, what you think are my bad parts, but, okay, can you see any good in me? Yeah? Now I want to talk about that. Yeah, can you see any good in me? Right? So, but it's there to oppress and suppress, because that's the nature of the system. Listen, your job is to just, when this comes there, you hammer that there. That's your job. Don't think about anything else. You're just the hammer. You hammer that. Right? And your job is to put that in a box. Yeah? Your job is to wrap the box. That's your job all day. Yeah? Some people is a bit more sophisticated than that, and their job is to do something, but they do the same basic thing every day. You know, that's it. I've heard it said that's insect. Insects are specialists in one thing. You see? And the bodies are even designed like that, because you've got the soldiers that keep everything else in line and place in order, and anything invading the hive, they'll defend it. You've got your liquid drones, the ones that will repair any damage to the hive. And you've got those that feed the queen, and the queen's got her job, and then you've got some others that are tending the nurseries, right? Because you've got the insect, the nurseries, and then you've got some other ones that have got the farms, and they're growing certain funguses at certain levels of the hive. It's a city. Have you ever seen them?
Yeah.
It's like a termite nest. It's amazing. It's a city.
Yeah.
There is specialisation. So that's what we've come to in these cities, is specialisation, observing the nature of insects. But we're not insects, right? So we're more powerful when we've got holistic knowledge. Yeah, I know your job. I know your job. Yeah, I like doing this job, but I know all the aspects to it because I've got a view of the bigger picture. You see, it's joining the dots. If you don't know some of this esoteric symbolism, and you're trying to decipher things in society why it's playing out like this, it don't make sense. It can't ever make sense if you don't have the pieces to see. It can't. And that's just logic. Yeah, if you haven't got all the pieces, you know what I mean. So knowledge is power. Ignorance is weakness. Ignorance is bliss until life catches up to you. And you don't know what to do because the ignorance never knows.
Ignorance is bliss until they're forcing ethylene oxide and nanoparticles up your child's nose twice a week and telling you that you've got to have a passport and be forced to have a vaccination to go on holiday. Ignorance is bliss until then. Hold on a minute. Are you in a blissful state? No. Because ignorance isn't bliss at all. Because when it comes down to it, you're screwed.
That's right. So when life catches up to you and the reality catches up to you, yeah. So, you know, so it's about knowing thyself, cultivating knowledge, and going and practicalizing it. Yeah. So as you get more confident, when you get more knowledge and information, you get more confident because you understand that actually I'm very powerful and I've been giving it all away. Right? So I'm going to stop giving it away, and I'm going to just, you know, I don't want to control you. I don't want to control you. I don't want to control anybody. I'm just master of myself. Now, if another unit of I am, another part of I am, is doing something that yeah, that's great. I can align myself to your energies, and we can. 2 energies can accomplish more. 3 energies, 1 million of us, 1 million individual I am, all operating on the same frequency and the same thing, it's incredible, right? But one is also just as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we're truly in that mode, right? So the practice is to stay in that mode, and that's what meditation does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, until the point where we're fully self-realized and we're in that mode all the time, walking in the blissful mode, right? In that consciousness. Yeah. So, you know, it's nobody dies. There's no such thing as death. So you can't kill anybody, right? But you can stop somebody's progress in this incarnation. And to cause harm or loss to somebody, there's repercussions to this unit of I am. You get trapped, as you was talking about, being trapped in the rebirth cycle. Yeah. So the whole point of self-realization and self-development is to break the wheel of birth and death. That's basically it. You break the wheels of birth and death. Okay. Yeah. So Saturn, the moon, and the sun play a big role in the recycling of the spirits of that energy, the spirit soul energy, right? So the soul is like a vessel, and the Catholic Church has claimed all vessels. So they claim the soul because they claim all vessels. And the soul is a vessel of the spirit. Okay? So they claimed everything. So understanding the esoteric side, then you can understand what the meanings of all these words and legalities are on the ground. It has something behind it. It's come from somewhere, you know. And magic. How does magic work?
I've just ordered a book called Codex Magica. It's not here yet. It's like Freemason magic.
What have you ordered that?
Yeah.
Freemasonic sorcery operates here. It's illusions, yeah? Wow, look at that. You know, you're looking at that, and I'm doing all this fancy stuff.
Look, I'm doing something with that.
I'm picking
Yeah.
that hand, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? It's all sleight of hand. It's all creating a facade that we focus on, and then we don't notice. So all the stuff that we need to know, all the esoteric stuff, the instructions, what they intend to do, what they plan to do, it's all hidden in plain sight. And that's the best place to hide it. Because once I point it out to you, you won't believe it. So again, I've been really tuning into this Plato's allegory of the cave, right? I never realised how deep that was. Plato's allegory of the cave. You've heard of Plato, the Greek philosopher, right? So we're speaking that, and I've mentioned it probably quite a few times. But I got to go into it because it's still important. Because it's about nature. So you got all these people, and they've lived their whole life in a big, massive cave, right? That's all they know. They're chained down. They're born in there. They're chained down. And behind the corner, down the passageway, there's a fire, and this fire is creating reflections on the inside of the cave. And the cards every so often walk by, and they see shadows within the reflections on the cave wall, and that's all they know for their whole life. So they've created these stories and mythologies and religion about the meaning of all these things, right? One day, somebody in there, one of the guys, manages to break his chain, and he's like, he broke his chain and he's loose, and he comes out and he goes around the corner, and he sees this roaring fire. But he's never seen a fire before. But he sees this fire and he realises it's that light that's causing these reflections. So that, right, so all them stories just dismantled all that religion, right? He's just seen the truth. He's just seen the truth, right? It's there. The others can't see it.
Yeah.
Then he carries on past the fire and comes to the mouth of the cave. And what he sees there is so glorious to him, right? It's blue sky. He didn't even know, he hasn't got a word for blue. He's never seen blue. He's only seen the inside of the cave. Blue sky, clouds, how's he going to explain this? What words is he going to use to explain this heavenly vision? Right? All he's known is that miserable environment. So he's free. I'm free. He's freed himself. I'm heading into heaven. I'm just going. But, what about the people? I gotta go and tell them about this. Yeah? I gotta go and tell them about this. So he goes back. And he goes in and he said, yeah, everybody, I've just got something to tell you. All this stuff here that we've been talking about and believe and everything, it's all rubbish. Because down there, because I got free, and I went down there and there's this big light that's causing all these reflections. And then when I went further, I was in heaven. It was just spectacular. There was things floating in the sky, and this cloud, there was these big long things coming out the ground, and I had these different colours. It was beautiful. And so they killed him as a madman for blaspheming and going against everything. You're a nutter. You're a madman.
And that story has replayed itself.
It's relevant
through time, so many times with people that have been martyred for giving us the real deal or something too close to the real deal for it to happen. The difference being now that this year alone and last year there is well too many of us now, so there is fuck all they can do because it will solidify everything we have ever said, and that is the great part about it. And I don't want to go on much longer because I know I've got someone coming round in about 9 minutes. But we've got a tipping point, yeah. And I am confident that the more of us that say I am, we will not be what they say we are. And that is what they're trying to tell us, is that we're going to be enslaved by the system, by the technology. They want to change our very DNA, and we're not going to allow that by any means. By any means. However, the only means that needs to be is everybody saying, I am, not what you tell me I am. And that's it. And I think you've smashed it, because all of your knowledge, I can't pick holes in it.
No, thank you, Remi.
I've been on this journey for a long time.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying.
And made lots of mistakes in trying things out. You know, been in court, been evicted from a house, you know, been transgressed against, been dragged into court, and never ever could they create joinder. Right? I don't have a criminal record. I'm not a criminal. I don't have a criminal. My straw man hasn't got a criminal record. Because I know that I am, and I've always, even before I got into this situation, I've been in court, and for some reason, I've always been able to. The right words just always come out. Right? Always coming out, the right words. So if you trust that you know that I haven't done anything wrong, and you just ask questions, because that's ultimately it is. You ask questions. Yeah? Somebody wants to put a vaccine in you. Okay, well, I conditionally accept the vaccine so long as you give me a list of all the ingredients so that I can research on what those ingredients do to my body. Right? So there's no controversy. I conditionally accepted your offer, provided you can prove this. Yeah? So I haven't refused anything. Don't refuse anything. Just conditionally accept it. There are conditions, and your conditions become the contract. And contracts by nature are binding. You see, you make an agreement, it's binding. That's why they want your signature for everything. Because you're binding yourself into an agreement that they haven't even given you full disclosure most of the time. Yeah? So they're assuming that we are the legal fiction straw man. Most people don't think that they are that, so they'll act according to that. So their assumption is you are that, because the majority of people believe that, right? So once you're coming into this knowledge and you're claiming your rights and you stand in that, then you ask the right questions. The answers, all answers are in the question. If somebody asks me a stupid question, I can give them a stupid answer. You ask a quality question, a deep, penetrating question, it's all over. It's all over. The judge has to tell the truth. Yeah? He has to. Because the judge, he may be a Mason and he's sworn an oath. And no, you can't be a Mason if you're an atheist. Did you know that?
I did have a bit of an inkling about that, but I've not looked into
You
it
can't
loads.
join any secret society if you're an atheist. Because they know that there are higher forces in the unseen.
Yeah.
You see? That's what rituals are. You see? So they're incarnate entities and they're discarnate entities. You see? That means they're entities that have a different form that are in the unseen. That means they are outside of our field of vision, outside of our frequency field of vision. Yeah, we see within a certain bandwidth of vision, right? They're outside of it and operate. We call it today a different dimension. So there's other things going on right here and now in multiple different dimensions. We can't see them, they can't see us, unless you can attune yourself to certain things. Then we might call that a ghost. See? So, the infinite consciousness that I am, and having access to that, means we've got to still ourselves, go in, because everything, the kingdom of God, I'm just quoting these things, right? The kingdom of God lies within. Everything lies within. You know? I'm perceiving you guys within. Yeah? I'm not looking at here. Light is going in and creating a holographic reality, and I'm observing it from where? From where? You see what I'm saying? If I cannot use a clairvoyant, if you're clairvoyant or you've developed some remote viewing talent or clairvoyant abilities, right? Because these things are byproducts of meditation, right? You can see farther, so you can see, you have a premonition of something that's happening to some member of your family on the other side of the world, and you can phone them up, blah blah blah, and then that thing happens. You observe something non-local to yourself.
And this is and that situation that I was talking about in the other country, right? Like today is your birthday. That's random. That
It's
it's
my
like,
Earth Day.
yeah, your Earth Day, right? Well, I was born on my dad's Earth Day.
Wow.
So when that thing happened, he knew before I'd even called him that it happened, and he says that to this day.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to wrap up, because like I said on the live that I did before this earlier, when describing talking to Remi, is I can sit there and listen and time flies by because the knowledge is infinite. So I think if you've got anything else that you really need to say right now, say it.
Yeah.
If not, we'll do a part 2 if you need to in the very near future, which could be next week.
We can do a part 2. All I can say is that get on the pathway of studying thyself, knowing thyself. So all aspects of knowledge, different areas, are all interrelated. Okay, and you'll be able to join the dots, but really that's theoretical, that's information. Tasting it and experiencing it makes that information, puts perspective on everything, on the information, right? To see whether it's true or not. There's a Bob Marley, he who feels it knows it. When you taste it, it's experiential. You know it on a deeper level. Sometimes we experience things and it takes you a while to actually figure out what you experienced. You got to stand back and contemplate what What did I just experience? What is that? What are the deeper meanings of this? Yeah. So it's just a journey or an unfoldment through this beautiful thing we call life. Yeah. On our way back to our beingness, I amness, a pure I amness, right? So, yeah. One love, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Remi.
Thank you for inviting
Thank
me.
you, JD.
It's been a pleasure. So,
Yeah, man.
yeah.
Right, farewell, guys.
I call him Remi D because he has got the remedy.
Ah, ba-bum.
I'm playing with their words now.